I just wanted to tell our chat this too. I do genuinely believe that this is not a troll or that he's not being a fucking dick, guys. Maybe I turn out to be wrong, but I mean, one thing to think about if you're going to go forward watching their content and maybe watch ours too, see who's offering you context to things. See who's offering you real analysis and not just claiming things like they are. Right? Like there's a lot of misrepresentation of, gender ideology, they call it, when it's really just, it's science. It really is, and they don't like.
It's science. It really is. It's just.
I was just saying, there's some people who also fundamentally think the world is flat.
Yeah, those people are stupid.
I don't know. No, you don't know. You don't need to know. I'm telling you. Let me finish. Because if you care about the issue, opening your ears and shutting your mouth is the way to care about it. I said earlier. So I get it. So I said earlier that the thing that I care about is the effect, not intentions. People can have. What the fuck are you talking about, dude? Like, you're a fucking moron. I'm sorry. You just are. You're catching me on the wrong day with this bullshit.
Every day is the wrong day with you, Dane.
That.
I'm not sure why you guys silenced me.
Do you mean the woman with the penis comments? Do you think people don't have sex in prisons? Honestly, I don't really even identify. Like, I don't think of myself in masculine terms or anything.
Feeling like a man either.
Nobody thinks of him in masculine terms. I mean, let's be honest here. Hey. All right. Episode 13, officially.
Yeah.
In the teens, man.
Spooky for October.
And we could be even spookier. But yeah, we're coming off the heels of, a very special episode. Now we're even spookier in October. Oh yeah. It is the spooky season.
Ooh.
Yeah, they just added video backgrounds, so it's kind of nice, but I guess it could be distracting.
It is, but I like it.
Yeah, but it's awesome to be here. Welcome, sir. Yeah, how's your week been? Or since we had bonus time, how has your time been, sir?
It's been good. My son was telling me that he started his driving lesson stuff, and he was the only kid out of the entire sophomore class. So do you remember they used to do this thing where they would bring a car? Like when I was in high school, they would bring a car, and it was the drunk driving car. And you would get in it, and you would drive around the course once, and then you would drive around the course again, but this time they would engage the drunk driving thing. And it was literally like a set of hydraulics that would pull the wheel one way or the other as you were driving. Like very much not how drunk driving actually is. Drunk driving's so much fun, but highly illegal.
That's kind of crazy.
It's dangerous.
We did not have that.
You didn't have that
here. Maybe that's like a coastal thing because
they care about our children.
Here in the flyover states, they don't care. Like they're just assuming you'll just go off the road.
Too many.
You'll be fine. I'll just be in a field. Yeah, I have no clue, man. That sounds awesome, though. I wish I got it. I would want to try and fight against that.
Yeah, I did. And I remember when I did it, I was able to navigate once through without hitting any cones, and then a second time with the drunk thing engaged. I was the only person that did not hit any cones. So my son just did his. And the same thing, except this time,
nice.
They don't do the hydraulics in the wheel. I guess something happened. Go figure. But they give.
But it sounded like such a good idea.
They call them drunk glasses. So I guess they mimic.
I have seen those where they're kind of like weirdly mirrored. How did he do with those? So I have one of those once, and it was crazy. Really. Yeah. Wow, that kid is like very bright.
Well, we practice. I take him off to abandoned parking lots, and we practice driving. I don't want to get caught.
Drunk glasses.
Yeah, well, we just get drunk for real.
That makes sense.
We split a 6-pack, father and son. So we're just so I'm proud.
That's cool. Like, so I would be too, man. Like, that's awesome. I think I would have definitely hit a cone originally without the drunk glasses, and I wouldn't have stood a chance with it. I remember just trying to pick something up with those and just knocking over a glass. Like I couldn't imagine going between cones and driving a vehicle. But in my driver's ed thing, they had the worst. It wasn't VR. I guess it was. I don't. It felt like a video game. It felt like they brought a Mario Kart steering wheel out,
really?
And then you have a little pedal thing that goes on the ground. It seemed like Rock Band I don't know, quality of like things like, those old like Guitar Hero guitars, how they felt kind of flimsy, but
Yeah.
they were like thick plastic. Anyway, it was like that. It just felt like a toy.
So it wasn't like
And they would do
realistic expectation of
no,
driving.
but they did kind of the drunk driving simulation thing in that too, where it was like pulling to a side like randomly. But I don't know. Those things were broken. Like
Yeah.
I did it once and it gave me a really bad score. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna aim for every pedestrian and I did, and they gave me a perfect score. So it's like, what the hell? Like
You
this thing is
win.
busted. Yeah, apparently I got the high score. So I don't know. I felt like mine was really stupid. So that's really cool that they actually did that
Yeah.
stuff. I think they were just trying out that technology.
They went when
and it
I
was
w- when
new
I was young
a
though.
kid.
They went hardcore, like along
Mm.
because we did it in the parking lot. Along the parking lot, there was they would bring wrecked cars, and who knows why they were actually wrecked.
Really?
But they would bring like wrecked cars and put dummies over it, and it was part of like the
Damn.
senior thing. Like the seniors would like decorate the car like fucked up, like
Damn.
somebody died there.
That is really hardcore, man.
Yeah.
Like, so they had like 3 Ford Tauruses or something that we got to like drive around a parking lot like twice, but that's about it. Like, we didn't have nothing cool like that.
Yeah.
And they were equipped where like there was a brake in the passenger seat, so that was cool. That's probably the only way that I would feel comfortable like driving with a kid is if I had a brake.
Yeah.
But damn, yours just sounds so like hardcore and awesome.
Yeah.
I knew
We
that
came
they
up-
sucked with everything else out here,
Yeah.
but I didn't think driver's
We
ed
came
was
up
that
hard in
that
Jersey.
much weaker. Yeah, I guess, man. Like, coast again for the win.
Yeah. When we graduated,
Damn.
they just punched us in the face. It was just
Well, I
it was
got
a
that
different
too,
upbringing.
Yeah, we also got a kick in the ass
Yeah.
like the second we graduated. I don't know.
Kids are tender
We still
now.
have the violence. We just, yeah, that's true. What can we say?
Yeah.
They can't all, be these bastions of masculinity
But,
like ourselves.
But besides that, that was really the highlight of the week. What about you? How's shit been?
Well, pretty good. Nothing that special has been coming up. Just really busy this week, so that's been kind of nice. Actually having a lot to do. Yeah, I went to the theater. I went and saw a
Oh,
musical.
what'd you
That
see?
was interesting. Now I'm forgetting the name of it. Sweeney Todd.
You
Sorry, I
should
was like the
ask your
barber of
boyfriend.
Fleet Street. He enjoyed it as well. No, I went with a lovely lady friend.
Oh, that's nice.
It was great. I had never seen that as a live musical. It was like a college production, so it wasn't.
Those can be good. Those can be good.
It was. I really enjoyed it, and it was. The actors were all awesome. They're ones that do like touring as like the
Yeah.
mains, but everybody else was like kind of local. So it was really cool. It was interesting to see, and I really thoroughly enjoyed myself. It's been forever since I've been to the theatre. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I probably should check out the Johnny Depp one. I never did. I
can't.
wasn't that
I don't
interested
know.
in it. But
It's not for me.
but it was a fun story, and it felt like it fit Spooky Month quite well. So yeah, I enjoyed that. That's about the highlight of my week. Nobody passing out on me
Nice.
this week, so
Again.
it's always good. Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess let's get right into it
Yeah.
because there's some other stuff I want to talk about. So, Patrick,
Yes.
what have you been watching this week? I think you mentioned you got a few that you wanted to talk about.
Okay, so I started a show called Apple TV. Shockingly, I just got my first check from them.
Congrats!
Yes.
Now
thank
that
you.
that Beck money's out, we're looking for anything.
Yeah,
So,
it was enough to
yeah, good to know.
cover a quarter of the subscription to Disney. I mean to Apple
Oh
TV.
yeah.
So it's about this hospital during Hurricane Katrina in Louisiana, in New Orleans.
That could be intense.
And so it's a true story based on a true story. How do they say it? Is it based on a true story or
I think like based on a true story or
inspired by
apparently
true
there's a legal
events?
difference between. Yeah, I think yes, something one of those.
Yeah.
I think based on a true story means you can change it.
Not quite.
a
I think
bit.
not quite bullshit. But it's
So is it 70% emotional truth?
yes, it's mostly emotional truth. No, I think it's
Okay.
supposed to be pretty accurate though, because it was terrible what goes on there. It's like so it's this hospital. I think it was Memorial, and it's a sister hospital, and they're right in the heart of New Orleans. And obviously the levee breaks and everything, and the water starts rising, and they're not prepared for it. So their generators, their electrical systems, everything are in the basement. And you know, if you lose power to a hospital, it's more or less just a fucking building. And if you have people that
Yeah.
are literally coming out of like critical surgeries where they need life support, it's a problem. And
For
then
sure.
food, you know, refrigeration. And so they end up, I think they're stuck there at this point in the show. Like, I think it's day 6, and it's just,
Wow.
it's hard to watch.
I bet. That just seems like that'd be so intense. Like, just the news coverage on it was hard to
I
watch,
know.
but God, I can only imagine going through it. Yeah.
And then they're dealing
One of
with
the
like
worst
the
disasters in a
looting and
hospital.
the crime.
Yeah.
It's like, holy fucking shit.
I bet that'd be tough too, because you know, I'm sure they've got stores of drugs in there,
Mhm.
so I'm sure somebody wants into there.
But I mean,
Just
like,
kind of sometimes disasters bring out the
you've
worst.
had surgery, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, me too, a couple times. And could you imagine coming out of like your like second, like you're in your like 6th hour of recovery, and like, oh shit, like nothing. We can't even give you fucking drugs really at this point. Like, you're
Yeah.
just gonna wake up and be in pain with your guts just open, you know, or just recently closed. It's brutal. It's
Yeah.
fucking brutal. And then like people are on life support, and like even just small traumas, they can't do anything fucking about anything. And it's just like, it's so crazy. You gotta
Kind of
watch it.
makes me that does sound really interesting. I bet it's really well done. Just based on almost everything else I've seen from Apple, and except for the it's not The Shelter. What is that one called that you were watching? The Silo? No, not
The
Silo.
Servant?
The one where they're in a bunker. Now I
The
can't
Silo.
think of what that one's called.
It's the one
Oh,
where
it
they're
is
in
The
a
Silo.
silo.
Yeah. So thank you. You know, I couldn't remember the room, the one where they're in the room. Now the one where they're in the silo.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember exactly what it was called, but you were saying that one's not so good.
Oh,
But
it's terrible.
everything else I've seen from Apple, I thought was like really decently
They're
done.
on
And then
fire.
it's just like amazing, like because they have access to huge music
Mhm.
libraries and everything. So it's like I don't know, it's just different than what you'd see on regular TV. Like there's no way they'd be able to license the songs they license.
And I wouldn't
But
have even
so-
checked it out if they didn't give me, I got like I think I updated the contract on my phone or something, and they gave me 3 months free
Mhm.
of Apple. And I was like, you know what, why not? There's nothing to watch. I'll throw it on, I'll see what they have. And I'm like, holy shit, there's a plethora. There's a veritable cornucopia of good shows on
It
there.
seems to
There's
be
some shit though.
ramping up.
There's some
Yeah,
shit.
When I first watched it and checked out their shows, there was only like 4 or 5 shows like on there. So it looks like
Yeah.
they've really ramped it up.
First
and
thing I watched
they
on
seem to
there
be
was
putting out a lot
Severance.
more. Hmm. I don't think I know anything about Severance.
Oh, you don't know about
but,
Severance? Severance
I don't
is with
think
the
so.
guy. I always forget this actor's name, but he's really good. Like Adam Scott, Adam Scott.
Oh yeah.
He
Yeah. I'd like that guy.
So it's about like it's like a weird experiment or job thing. So you separate.
I totally forgot about
Yeah.
that one. I do remember seeing ads for it. I never saw it, but
Watch it. It's amazing. John Turturro's in it.
Ooh, I love me some Turturro.
There's a couple other names in it. I'm just not going to come to me because I wasn't prepared, because this is a low effort review.
Nice. Well, I mean, we're not expecting you to prepare for this low effort.
We don't give a fuck. We expect chat to pick up whatever slack. We don't fucking.
But sorry, I took us on a weird tangent.
Yeah.
You were talking about a show, and I didn't get a rating from you. Sorry. I will check out Severance though. But
I'd give this like a 3 out of 5 starfishes, because it's not great, but it's like one of those things where you're watching it and you're like, Jesus Christ. The only thing is the ongoing theme with Apple shows is they like to drag it out. They love to drag it out. You're on episode like 4 before the water starts rolling into this bitch. Like, I'm just like, come on, enough fucking character development. I don't care about the divorce you're going through. Like, that's the only thing I'll say about the show. All their shows. That's why they're not getting 5 out of 5s, but they all get A for efforts, you know?
Well, kind of speaking of that, so I did finally finish A Crowded Room, and that one. So you were right. A lot of the twists or whatever you can kind of figure out.
Yeah.
I think you're smarter than me. There's one of them that really got me. I don't know. We've been talking about this for like 3 weeks now, so I think we could probably go into full spoilers. If not, skip ahead probably like 5 minutes.
Let this be your warning.
I guess maybe I could post a timestamp here if I remember.
Get your shit together.
Okay, so I got most of the twists. I mean, obviously, like you can kind of see it coming that dude has some issues.
Yeah. Just say it.
There's one. So obviously, he has like, is it DID? This social. So I can't remember exactly which one it is. But he's got multiple personalities. Yeah. So I caught almost all of them except for the one that I didn't get was his two friends, which makes so much sense to me. And that makes sense, like why he had like the greasy hair at
Yeah.
times, like why he could get out of the cuffs. It makes sense to me. I don't know how that one slipped by, but I was like, there's no way that he has a brother and nobody's mentioning like how his brother died or anything like this, or he got any sort of help for that tragedy. So like that one I had pegged, and all the others I kind of guessed.
Mhm.
But yeah, somehow, and also I assumed that, like since we can't find this girl, she would be one of them as well. So I don't know how I missed that those friends didn't actually exist. But
And
yeah, that was the one that got
if
me
you
when
think
they're
about
actually
it
in the crowded room together.
if you think about yeah, that was a big reveal. But if you think about it, like, the girl that he's, like, fooling around with the whole show, I can't remember her name,
Mhm.
the blonde or whatever she was, um,
Yes.
the unrational hatred her boyfriend has of him. Like, your first is presented as kinda like a bully situation, but then if you actually think back
Yeah.
to it, he's having all these other interactions with the various friends, and
Mhm.
there's extra reasons for him to not like this kid, is what I'm saying.
Yep,
Um,
for
I
sure.
mean, he's still a bully, still a crazy guy, but it's like there's more interactions than just, "Oh, there he is."
Mhm.
But
For
but
sure.
yeah, I was telling you that I watched this with Nikki, and even though the full reveal comes, right? Even though the full reveal comes, and I'm like, yeah, they're all him. It's all split. He,
Well,
he had all these personalities.
technically, they leave back a couple characters, so I can understand why, like, the one character that apparently she might not have gotten, she wasn't technically in that room, so when they give, like, the full reveal, they don't necessarily reveal everything, they keep a couple little cards hidden, but,
So Nikki had a little bit of a hard time with the idea that that the girl, when she's getting plowed in the bathroom, was Tom Holland getting plowed in the bathroom. Like, she just couldn't get past the image of it. She was like, and my girlfriend's not homophobic by any means. She has gay friends, but she just didn't like. She didn't. I guess she just bought the whole character, that whole identity, so much that it was like, and then just the idea of Tom Holland, somebody that she loves, getting plowed in the bathroom, really wasn't the best.
well,
And then they show it, and she's like,
yeah.
"No, no, that was it. No."
Well, and it's weird, like, they fully have, like, the character, so they've got, like, the actress playing her, but then when it shows Tom Holland, like, playing her, I don't know, he just looks like 11 from Stranger Things
Yeah,
to me. It's just like, "Oh, okay, okay," like, you're not kinda like, "Okay," I thought, like, you'd at least, like, flock of seagulls to hair or something, but I don't know, it was just, it was really interesting, and, Tom Holland's acting in that
oh,
was just, like, amazing, like, when he does these different personalities and it's him instead of the actors
yeah, he's
doing it,
great.
just spot on. And then, like, when he goes into, so the British character, he's doing the British character doing an American accent. So it's just like 2 accents. I don't know, it's just awesome.
Yeah,
When his performance is just amazing in this.
everybody in it,
I
everybody
couldn't
in it is
recommend it
spot
more.
on, though. Like, there's nobody.
It is a
There's
hard subject to
Yeah.
watch for sure, and, it kinda takes you through a lot of, I guess nothing other than trauma, but it's, portrayed in, like, a really good
Mhm.
way, and then, that Amanda Seyfried thing, like, her character has so much payoff in, like, the latter half of the season. She's just kinda listening, and there's not too much revealed in the beginning, so I kinda thought she was underutilized, but totally, a whole bunch of, utilization of her character and her acting skills as well. Just I don't know, I couldn't say, more positives about this, and then just, again, because it's Apple, it's just, like, such amazing music, like, they're able to use the Beatles
Yeah.
quite a few times, they're able to use Pink Floyd, I think Mellencamp was in there, and I think there was a couple other almost every, episode has, like, some huge song in it, which is different, it's a little distracting, but, not in a bad way, it's just like, "Oh, damn," like, that's a big song in just this show, that's, it's interesting to me. I guess I wouldn't have thought, you know, uh, Let It Be would be like, in just some TV show.
Mhm.
I don't know, it seems a little big for something like that, but, yeah, this whole thing was just awesome. Thanks for, recommending
No,
it to
it's
me.
yeah,
I, really enjoyed this
it's
one. I
great.
think,
And you can even enjoy it.
it's damn close to
You
5,
can
maybe 4.5 for
you
me,
can even enjoy it with the spoilers. I still think you could watch the whole thing and be like, "Wow, this is fucking great."
for sure.
Uh,
I think it's, a really awesome show, and it takes you on an emotional journey for sure. It's,
and it's funny you're talking about.
serious content handled well.
I'm sorry. Go ahead with your rating.
Oh, I think I'd give it, like, 4.5 out of
Yeah,
5. I don't know. I don't know if I'd give it perfect, but it is damn near
it's
it.
pretty great.
Yeah, I think it is definitely something that should be seen. So,
Um,
But sorry, you were saying something?
No, I was just gonna say, I'm not gonna do like a full review on it, but we've still been watching Invasion, and they actually have a lot of music in there. They got a lot of Bowie music. What was
Nice.
it? Good Ground Control to Major Tom. That song. What is it? Space Odyssey
Yeah.
or something?
Yes. Space Oddity.
Oddity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And a couple other big ones where I was like, "Whoa, I'm surprised that's there." That
Mhm.
show, my girlfriend's committed to it, but holy shit, man, it's fucking hard for me to watch it. It's like same shit keeps happening in every fucking episode, and they did that thing where like I guess a large period of time took place between the filming of season 1 and season 2, or whatever seasons we're on
Oh,
now,
I kind of hate it when that happens.
and the problem is they had all young kids playing the parts, and they didn't change actors or anything, obviously. So all these kids came back and hit a fucking growth spurt. Like it's like a brand situation from Game of Thrones, you know?
All of a sudden, he's 7 feet
Yeah,
tall.
all of a sudden he's
Huh.
35.
Interesting.
Like, so that's what that.
Well,
Like the one kid had.
hopefully it doesn't take you out of it too
It does
much. Like if
for
you look
me.
at
It
Stranger
does.
Things, like season 1 and like the
Yeah, the
most
jump.
recent one, it's like, oh, there's something
Different.
But I don't know. I didn't really notice it watching it in order, but yeah, it's definitely a huge jump compared to like how little time is in there.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Hopefully it doesn't take you out of it too much.
Well, they
But,
don't acknowledge the time jump. They could have like easily been like, 6 months have passed. Like they could have thrown something
yeah.
in there and just been like, we have to acknowledge the fact that these kids like, this girl's tits now. Like, what, you can't like this kid. This kid's Adam's apple is bigger than my dick. Like it's not. We can't ignore these things. Like
We can try.
like they're clearly like because I mean like the one kid, it's really funny. He's like the main boy who can kind of talk to the aliens. He is bullied in the beginning by this bigger British kid, and it's like a noticeable difference. And he's like this little kid, and now he's like 4 or 5 inches taller than the other kid, the bully. So it's hard to like
stop bullying me.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
like he's clearly worked out the entire time that this show has been on, and he was this scrawny little peanut of a kid. But that's the only. It takes me right the fuck out of it there.
Well, that's too bad.
Yeah.
Does it seem to be holding its quality for you though, or does
I
it seem
don't
like
think
it's
so.
dipped in the second season?
You can keep watching it, but it's not that great. It's like any rando invasion type show. They were off to a good start, and then I don't know. It just feels like weird, less of a quality to me now. But again, it's just I don't know. Like maybe it's the slow burns or like I told you with The Servant. Like my sister said to me, she's like, I'm like, don't fucking spoil it. I don't want to know what happens. She's like, nothing ever happens. And I'm like, that's the same as spoiling it.
You just spoiled it. Something's supposed to happen.
Yeah, I'm like,
yeah. I still want to check that one
it's
out.
good.
It sounds awesome.
We burnt out on it.
I have not had a ton of time.
We're gonna go back,
but I will, especially since you were saying it's like half-hour shows.
Yeah,
That
you
sounds
can bang
really
them out real
nice
easy.
as opposed to like these long ones. Well, hell yeah. Do you want to do one more or another one, and then I'll throw one in there?
I got one of two. One's based on a real life event as it pertains to a video game, and the other one is based on a remake. It's a remake of a movie that's based on a amusement park ride. Those are your options.
I know the amusement park ride one. I was actually thinking of watching that one. So I'd be interested in your review of that one if you wouldn't mind, sir.
It was terrible.
Ah, man. So does it hold up to the Eddie Murphy one?
No, absolutely not. Not even close.
Okay.
Like it's one of those movies that's really detached. Like you get that sensation during watching it. Like, who'd they make this for? And I don't care if I spoil this movie for anybody. So chock full of spoilers. This low effort review.
I guess we should give a title.
There's like
I guess we've just spoken in code.
Yeah, there's a part of it where I don't know. Maybe this won't give anything away, but like the ghosts. There's ghosts in this. I hope that's not a spoiler. It needs a soul. It needs like one more soul, and it tries to trick a like 8-year-old, maybe 9, into suicide. Oh shit! Dude, we're not allowed to say that word, right? Isn't that?
Well,
I always say.
I think we're okay. We're not monetized at this point.
Yeah, spoiler alert. We're not monetized. But so no, he tries to talk him into offing him whatever, and I'm like, who's this for? And then, but it's not like really geared. There was some funny parts. There were some really funny parts. A bunch of cameos. Winona Ryder. Barely know her, but she has a cameo in it, and I think she's really funny.
Nice.
And Danny DeVito's in it, so he's always a good time.
Nice. For sure.
I don't know who plays the male lead. I've seen him in other stuff, but I don't know what his name is. But he wasn't. He just felt like he was like he wasn't sure what he was doing there that each day of filming. You know how like when you watch something and like, not the character, but I guess the way the guy acts is different scene to scene. Like in one scene he's like,
yeah,
like, and the next scene he's like, yo man, like what's like, all serious. But
I have definitely noticed that.
It's not because of like that's what his character is supposed to be doing. It's just like that's what he did at work that day. Do you know what I mean?
I've definitely seen that before, where they kind of didn't have a realization of the character, or perhaps somebody had them change it throughout the filming, but it doesn't edit together well.
It's like low energy, high energy, low energy.
Experienced that. Yeah.
And then who else was in it that's pretty famous? Rosario Dawson is in it. She's looking
in
a
a
little
lot
old.
of Disney stuff recently.
She's looking a little old to me. She's kind of looking like she looked a bit like Kamala Harris in this movie. She gave me heavy Kamala vibes.
Interesting. Huh.
So
was there a lot of chuckling, or I don't know. I'm just wondering.
It was just her look. Like, cause she had this like it was almost like she had like a 1950s. They all wore like really strangely, like randomly eclectic outfits. I don't know. She looked like she was like a 50s homemaker. The male lead, I can't remember his name. He looked like something out of like the 70s hipster guru look. And I don't know, maybe it's supposed to be set in a time and I just couldn't place all the outfits, but it just everything seems really weird. And Jamie Lee Curtis does a cameo, and it's awful.
Nice. Oh, that sucks. I enjoyed her in almost everything, but I actually just recently watched the original Halloween, just classics. So,
I don't think I've ever sat through the whole thing.
You haven't?
No, maybe I will for this Halloween. I'll give it a review.
Wow. It's different. Like the pacing is. Sorry, I didn't mean to divert to that, but huge love for Jamie Lee Curtis. But sorry, that's too bad. I was hoping her cameo would be good.
No, it was very,
especially with
like
her recent
cartoonish,
decent.
But I guess again, it gave me a weird feeling because I'm like, all right, it's a Disney movie, and we're watching it because we are aware it's a Disney movie. My girlfriend loves either murder, death, and horror, or Disney. Like
same thing. Yeah. No, I mean, like all those classics, they had murder, mostly of the parents.
I guess, if you look at the overall theme of a lot of these things. But so what I'm trying to say is we're comfortable. Some people will be like, oh, you don't like a kid's movie? Like, it's a kid's movie. What the fuck do you think it's supposed to be like? But no, it's that, the movie sucked.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah.
So
Owen Wilson is in it too. Owen Wilson.
Okay, I was gonna say I thought Owen Wilson was in it because it kind of reminded me of the other haunted house one from way back in the day. But
Disney's.
Is Owen Wilson any good in it?
I love him in everything, and he's in
Fair
Loki.
enough.
So
I
have a soft spot for him.
So is this called Disney's Haunted Mansion? Or
I think it's Disney's The Haunted Mansion.
Okay.
I think.
And then, so it sounds like you're not recommending it, but what would your overall rating be on this one?
This one is like a one starfish out of 5.
Ugh.
It's not good.
All right, I'll probably pass on this one too. I was actually kind of excited because it's the spooky season.
Yeah,
like any type of thing like that.
Yeah, I know. That's why we watched it. And it's not even worth watching it to like. It's not even like a She-Hulk where you're like, I can enjoy this because it sucks. But
that sucks. I guess I was hoping for more from that. Well, yeah, I guess I'll talk about my last one. So I finally watched the Wheel of Time finale, and oh my god, I want to eat every single word that I've ever said in praise of this thing. Where I said, like, maybe they're just doing their own thing, but maybe they get it. They get the essence of it. I was so fucking wrong, and they have done Robert Jordan such a disservice in this.
They let you down
every single way that they could have screwed up every single character. They did. Every single thing about this is wrong on so many levels, and oh my god, I hate this so much. There's not much that I can say about it without giving too many spoilers, but like they did every character dirty. Perrin is completely like ruined the way that they did him. Like that is just horrible. Matt, it is just kind of ridiculous the way they did it, and then the way that they gave him his weapon, and then what he does with it is just so stupid. Yeah, Rand, he is nothing. He is a shell of himself. He should have actually had this epic battle, and it should have been like essentially broadcast across the sky to everybody. And he does absolutely nothing. It is so stupid. They completely trash Egwene's character. Her motivations are completely wrong. They make her essentially like evil. Just so fucking horrible. Elaine, I don't know. They just make her the weirdest one where somehow she's the one to do these very strange weaves to help out Rand. It just seems so wrong as well. And then her introduction to him is horrible. And then, yeah, with Nynaeve, they have just ruined her character this entire season. I can see how everybody is going to call this woke. They just made these girls super overpowered at the end for no fucking reason. Like, Moraine is just overpowered to the max and just does everything. Egwene then single-handedly takes on the strongest male channeler ever. None of this makes any sense. None of this is how it should be. The actual the way they bring back certain people is just such a slap in the face. It means that, yeah.
So you liked it?
I hate it so fucking much. There were like 3 episodes in this season that kind of made me second guess myself and say, you know, this isn't how I would have done it, but it's interesting. I like seeing this. Like I haven't, I've only seen it in my head, so maybe this could be good. Every possible way that they could have fucked this up, they did. It is much more grand and much more epic than the first season where they did it during COVID, where they could literally have like 5 people on set. So this big battle at the end, it looks like a big battle, like there was some money put into it and everything, but oh my God, they don't understand any character. They don't understand any motivation. They don't understand any sort of character growth. Things that were set up were just cut like magically, like people get to certain places that they shouldn't be. Nothing about this is done well.
It really makes you
right.
wonder,
It
doesn't
just
it?
sucks.
It makes you wonder,
Yeah.
like, do they have anybody on staff? This massive project that's like, excuse me, excuse me, this is not correct and it sucks. Like, there's nobody
Yeah.
that says that. I mean, they have a whole prior season, right?
I would hope so. They've got the guy who like actually finished the book series. Like he is a consultant on it. Like he could tell them how this actually should be done, how it could be done. So it sucks because it's essentially like 15 books and they're at the most going to have 8 seasons. So a lot of
8.
stuff has to be cut out of it. But what they're going to cut out of it is, and they're huge books too. Like they are thick tomes of books. So it's not like 10 hours of like 10 episodes would still be very tough
And
to do
you
one
read
of
all
his
these
full books
books?
in. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, dude.
You're fucking
Fantasy
nerd.
is amazing.
I
I am a nerd.
That's a lot of books. What? And it's
It is a lot of books.
the books are called
and
Wheel of
that's
Time.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I
and
gotta
then,
check with my
Brandon
sister. She's
Sanderson
like
was.
that. She's weird like that. She'll read all those fucking books probably.
It would be awesome. You know, it's they're not for everybody, but once they catch you, like it is just amazing. And just from where the characters start out to where they finish is just so amazing. And it feels like they're taking a bunch of shortcuts and you don't get the character development in it. And it feels like they're cutting key plot lines that are actually going to make sense in the future. So I don't know what they're going to do with it, but it's definitely not my Wheel of Time. And I eat every word that I ever said about, you know, this is okay. No, they have some things. Like I think there's about 2 episodes and like 3 scenes that are good from this entire 2 seasons of the show. So yeah, I'm going to give it a really low score. I'm going to give it 1 starfish. Again, there are like 2 good episodes in this season. Part of another one that doesn't justify all the bad that they did with this, and they just did no character justice. So yeah, 1 star for me. And I'm sorry, everyone. If anyone watched this because of what I said, I was wrong.
You're always
stop.
wrong. You know, it's funny
I
because I said the last time we were talking about this that TV shows are like abusive relationships sometimes, where it's where it's like they build you up, you know, and then they let you down and they beat you up all throughout the season, but then they do a grand gesture to get you back, like, oh baby, I won't hurt you again. Here's everything you need. Here's everything you need. But then when that one time comes, when that abusive boyfriend doesn't give you what you need, and then and you're like, I'm out. That's it. I'm out. And that whole rant you just did was so similar to like what the rant would be after, like, and you'd be like, and he don't have a fucking job.
I feel
and
like
he fucking beats me.
He started drinking and he came back.
Yeah. And you're like, and he fucking.
I feel very much like.
Yeah. You're like, you know what he did to my sister Loretta? I'm not fucking putting up with this shit. And like, and then you're like, I'm out. Fuck him. I'm out. I changed the locks. I threw his shit in the fucking yard. That's you right now. But
Yes,
what are we on
I do
season
feel
2?
quite.
You're gonna
Yes.
go back. You're gonna
So
go back to them.
supposedly,
You're gonna go back to them 6 more
oh, I'm gonna
times.
watch, but I will give them no charity in the future. They do not know what they're doing. They fucked everything up. They have done so much injustice to this. So I'm not saying I'm not gonna watch it, but I will never give them
Yeah.
praise. I might. I will acknowledge when they do things well, but from the looks of this, it's not gonna be
Well,
much.
I'm
It's
glad we
not gonna
got
be
here
any
because
justice.
I was seriously thinking about giving it a shot, and now I'm not gonna.
I wouldn't.
I'm not gonna.
Yeah. Just read the 15 books. You
Yeah,
know,
I'll
you've
do
got
that
years
instead.
to dedicate to that.
Yeah.
Uh, did you want to do any more, or do we move on to the next thing?
I think that's it. I think that's it. But I do want to
Okay.
say next week I want to talk about an older show. It was a one seasoner. It's called
Oh, okay.
Wayne. So if anybody wants to look up Wayne, it's on
Wayne, just like the name.
the name. That's it, Wayne.
Okay.
And I can't remember what platform it's on, but it's about
Well,
it's like a young Dirty Harry type character. But well, I want to.
I remember
Yeah,
that. Okay, I never actually watched it. I think I should give that
it's an
a look.
it's an unsung show that got missed. It's like if you ever watched Clifford. You remember Clifford?
I do.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like one of those.
I'm gonna.
So
Okay. I'm looking forward to
do your
that.
homework, peeps.
Wayne, next week, homework. All right.
What the hell is even that?
All right. So there's a subject that I wanted to talk about this week. We've kind of discussed them before, but cognitive distortions. There's a particular one I wanted to go over this week, and it's called mind reading.
Mind reading. Mind reading is a common cognitive distortion that involves interpreting the thoughts and beliefs of others without evidence. For example, after a job interview, Marvin may think, I didn't get the job because I'm too old, without evidence.
So that could be true. Like that could be the reason why I didn't get it, but that's the thing. Like this mind reading is you don't have any evidence to go off of. You're just assuming that you know the reason.
It's probably because he's not wearing any
I'll let him
pants.
go on. It's true. I mean, that's the reason why I wouldn't have given him the job. But whatever.
When people
Teach their
assume
own.
they know what others are thinking, they're resorting to mind reading.
Okay, so let me get back to this view. There we go. So, as we've kind of discussed before, cognitive distortions, cognitive biases, or unhelpful thinking styles are characteristic ways our thoughts become biased. We all have biases. We're always interpreting the world around us, trying to make sense of what's happening. Sometimes our brains take shortcuts, and we think things are not completely accurate. So one of those not accurate things that we would be thinking is that we assume what others are thinking. That would be mind reading itself. So with this cognitive distortion, you may also assume what others are thinking when they are thinking negative thoughts about you. It's not the most helpful thing. We definitely do it a lot,
Oh, yeah.
but a lot of it is kind of that assuming intentions of others, like they did this because. Where oftentimes nobody's thinking about you; they're thinking about their own shit, and they just who knows why they did it. It'd be much better to like actually ask them instead of assuming you know why.
Yeah.
But sorry, I think I cut you off. You were saying something?
No, I don't remember what I was going to say.
No,
I don't even think it was anything.
fair
It's
enough.
probably nothing intelligent.
I
That's for
know.
sure.
I'm sure it was intelligent, man. But yeah, I know I've fallen into this quite a bit, especially when I'm doing super negative thinking. It's like, they're looking at me because I don't know, they all hate me
Yeah.
or whatever. I know I've definitely done that, and a lot of this comes with like anxiety and stuff. So sometimes just being aware that you're putting intentions on somebody else, or you're assuming what their thoughts are. A lot of times, just being aware of that can stop you from doing it. A much better way would be to ask somebody
Yeah.
why they did something, as opposed to just assuming you know why.
No, it's like the biggest problem in most
communication.
relationships, and whether it be friendships, jobs, or anything else. Like I'll do with my girlfriend. Like she could be like writing an email or something, and because we both have offices. Well, not offices, but we work from home sometimes. And she'll be in the middle of something, and I'll be like, "Oh, baby, what are we doing later for dinner?" And she'll be like, "Well, it's just a second." And then I'm like, "She is a fucking bitch. She's thinking like I'm a fucking asshole." And she could just talk to me like I'm a fucking dick. It's not just that she was like in the middle of something and I'm interrupting. You know what I mean? Like, and you really start to try to
Exactly.
like read into these things, and it's like how you can build resentments, and you have these entire issues that go on inside of your own head. It's like reverse gaslighting.
For sure.
Like you
And
can
you
build
know,
a whole
and
massive
again,
narrative.
communication.
And
It's all we'd have to do to
yeah,
kind of just get through that. I know I've noticed with myself, like, you know, if I actually explain it, that creates a lot less confusion on the other person's part. And then, you know, just kind of being aware that I'm doing this helped me to stop doing it as much.
yeah.
But, you know, it's something we all got to try and be aware of. Yeah, we'll talk about some other fun ones coming up. But, yeah, that was a.
Okay, he's a guy. He's a thinker. He's an intellectual.
Been reliably informed that the personal is political and everything is politics. So, you know.
It's okay if you degrade me, it's okay if you open the house, it's okay, all of these things. I will be okay, all of this. Just somebody please marry me. You know, it's kind of
you like my large breasts, but you know what it's like to live with them.
Yeah, rather than you can beat me into submission. It's okay. I'll still love you, Daddy. I mean, I think
the first thing my chat says is, "Well, we know where the goatee is."
Oh, fuck you! Have a nice life.
I'll see you lesbians later.
That's right. The best day of the week is now Thursdays, with every Thursday having a new Think on That Darn Kid's channel. Now, what is a thinker, you may ask? Well, we're a diverse group of open-minded individuals who like to explore ideas and opinions. Feel free to explore the back catalogs. There's a bunch of different thinks on there, from medical assistance in death, to fathers, to kink, to male loneliness, to even more abstract topics, like why are words? We have a very diverse group of thinkers joining us from all around the world. So please, join us for a think. And hey, there may even be a diagram. Awesome. So this has been long anticipated, long teased.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with the long tease. But the audience, by popular demand, they've cried out for this. It is the long lost footage. We got it. So this was a very long build up until you were actually able to talk to these two fellas. But I kept a couple of your kind of attempts when he actually says that he's going to bring you on.
Yeah.
There were a few comments in between there over like this 2+ hour period where before he would let you on. So I didn't grab all that just so this isn't like a 4-hour reaction or whatever. But I grabbed a couple of key ones where he mentions he's going to bring you on. And then, yeah, we have your lovely discussion.
Yeah. So finally,
do you have any thoughts on this this long anticipated, much needed piece of long lost archival footage?
Well, just to catch everybody up to where we would be in this situation, for those following along and those new to this ongoing saga, this is what some refer to as my origin story, where I up until this point, I barely had a presence on Twitter. Not like I have one now, but like I was never on it. I maybe a few months, maybe like 6 months before, I had just kind of been like casually watching YouTube and seeing all this back and forth and really was enjoying, like, I guess I didn't know people called it trolling at the time, but it was the teasing. I enjoyed teasing. And this is like my first foray into being on a camera on YouTube, my first time ever.
So this was your internet infancy, if you will.
This is the first time I was ever on the internet, like on.
We
on
get to see baby Patrick here.
That I had clothes on.
Well, I mean, we're not going to talk about your. That's a previous life. We're just talking about a based life here. You know, hey, $20 is $20.
Exactly.
But you know, so I guess yeah, let's just let this roll, and you know, it might be. It might be a little bit heated right off the bat.
He's always saying you know, things that people could consider racist and point it out like it's just, you know, hypocritical. No, I'm not. Show me where I've ever said anything about something that isn't explicitly racist, and I said that it was.
Okay, I take on your challenge, Dane. Here is Patrick. Here's what you said about him.
This Patrick guy who is a troll and a racist and a bigot that's been trolling my chat for a couple days now is using your.
You got at least one of those things.
What the fuck is this, man?
Patrick, quit silencing me.
Yeah, all right. So Patrick, I don't want to make this whole stream about Patrick, but
yes, you do.
And yet here we are.
Never been able to get me out of your head since this night.
But it was pretty awesome because yeah, again, it was like 2.5 hours of you kind of chatting in. Where originally he invited you on, was like, okay, stick around till the end. But then you know, he didn't seem to enjoy your opinions, if you will.
Yeah.
But kept wanting to silence you, and yeah, you might have gotten blocked a few times before he let you on.
Always getting blocked.
But yeah, let's let it unfurl a little bit. I kept a few of these chats and him inviting you on, if you will.
If you want to come on later and have a conversation, man, let's do it. But
I don't think so.
All right, Patrick, if you have a decent microphone that doesn't sound like you're in a wind tunnel and you have headphones, stick around.
Sadly, he does,
and
sir.
Actually, send an email to one of us, and we'll send you the link.
And you sent him a gay old email, didn't you?
I did.
He got that, and magic happened.
And I put on my kid's headset.
I was gonna say I haven't seen you with this setup since then, but okay, fair. I think actually we did a stream.
Yeah, like one or two of them, and then I went out and bought. I Amazoned a serious $10 mic and a Bluetooth earbuds. Now I'm professional.
Nice. Yeah, now you're in the pro thing. Well, we're close.
Yeah.
And toward the end of the stream,
I'm a
you can have a conversation with us. You'll be friendly. Patrick. Patrick, do you want to come on and have a conversation? Because if you do, you're going to need to stop making bullshit claims that you do, things you don't know what you're talking about. I'd be willing to talk to you here in a minute, but
I'm willing to talk to you, but you can only say things that I think are accurate.
Yeah.
Okay. You can't like bring up something.
No,
like,
I'm sure they're going to be.
I'm not sure if that's accurate.
I'm sure they're
How
going to be
did
so
you get
fair
to
with
that
me.
conclusion? Yeah, exactly. That is his MO.
Did we
but,
give a date?
I do
forget
like how you've upgraded.
Did we give a date for when this happened? We didn't. It's like 4 months ago, right?
No,
5 months ago.
I think it was right before the Adam and Sitch debate, because it was just after. So in the timeline, it is just after Bob's conversation with Eric July. I think that was just a few days before, but the Adam and Sitch hadn't happened. So I'm guessing this would have been like February.
Okay,
because I do believe they had a Valentine's Day date. If I
and this is before you and I were
so.
friends.
Yes. So I knew you after this. I believe the next one, which we have a little tail end of, what happened after your conversation with him. I believe that's when I first started chatting in, and that's the day that I got blocked, and then I tried to talk to them next day. So this had to be somewhere in February, I'm guessing. So maybe this was like a week or so before I ever heard of these guys. But they had just treated you unfairly, and then you saw them kind of treat me unfairly.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of how we crossed paths, if you will. So, good things come out of bad situations. But I do want to point out that you upgraded your tiny P to a lovely picture of yourself here, somewhere in those like 2.5 hours between when he invited you on the show. And now,
that was my
it's
rugged
quite
look.
the upgrade.
That was in the wilderness.
Well, I mean, I like the photo shoot that you've gone on since then. You got some bangers in there for sure. I need to follow your path. Yes, I am not. Most cameras break. But let's let him go on a little bit. I think he still makes you wait a bit before you're invited.
Shit like this? No.
Is that Gordy in the background there?
Yes, it is.
Gordy.
He's now blocked from chat.
Top member of the initiative.
Now I kind of want to do. I did block him, but
you were just blocked. So if you notice, that last one was saying, and he is now blocked. So you are now blocked at this point. But DJ Eric from Eric's Reloaded, he just happened to mention that whole straight cisgender thing again. So yeah, apparently, I think he's accusing you of pandering. But I think you had some questions, and we're just trying to get to the bottom of this.
I always have questions.
So Eric actually contributed to you being on this show a little bit. You were already blocked at this point. Perhaps he was that little extra encouragement to get you back on. But
over the edge.
Yeah, yes. Push.
Kind of want to bring him on just to see if he gives me a chance to go off on him.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, that's definitely why you should invite somebody onto your show, right? Is to give you a chance to go off on them. That's what we.
Dan was looking to just beat
it's all
me
about
down.
the
He wanted to beat me down.
Yeah. It's not to have a conversation.
Yeah.
Just to
You ain't never been to Jersey, have you, Dane?
So we got.
And you had to wait for them to talk about these important issues, like the go-go boots no longer being on the green M&M.
Oh my god! Hard-hitting topics.
Yeah. Yes, these hard-hitting topics, so that you could then be blocked, and then finally send an email, and then get unblocked just for this conversation. So again, this was about 2.5 hours. We've condensed down to that much, but this whole conversation in its entirety will happen just about
Patrick,
now.
And this is going to be. Man, I was just before we bring him on, I wanted to make sure he knows that I was much more willing to be hear him out before a couple of the last couple things that he said. And
He was really willing before, when you got banned. But those last few things.
When he wanted to let me on to beat me down.
And
yeah.
So my patience might be shorter than it was before. But Patrick, how's it going, man?
There I am.
Who's that handsome
Who's
fellow
that
with
cardigan wearing son of a bitch?
Hello, Patrick.
Hey guys, how you doing?
All right, man.
Ooh, you would sound like you had a little bit more jersey there than usual.
Yeah, I threw a little jersey on. How you doing?
It's pretty awesome, man. Again, awesome first appearance. And, we can't quite see the Hannah Gadsby poster in this room, but,
fine,
it's nice to see a different view.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, all right. Hey, listen, I'm new at this, fellas. Don't attack me.
I was so
maybe
nervous.
Those comments were.
Well, okay, so you asked them not to attack you. Let's hear what Dane says to that. I'm pretty sure his response will be, of course we're not going to attack you, right? You'd want to address it, right?
Humor, but not. I didn't think they were that terrible. I'm not sure why you guys silenced me.
Do you mean the woman with the penis comments?
It's called lady penis.
Yeah,
Thank
get
you.
together.
There's a term for that now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I don't know what you're supposed to say exactly. So.
Lady penis.
Well, I mean, how often?
a trans woman with a penis, not a trans woman who doesn't have a penis.
Well, let me ask you this, man. Let me ask you. How often in your day-to-day life do you refer to just some person you don't know's genitals?
So you weren't talking about in day-to-day life, were you? There was a particular subject in which it kind of brought up. It was brought up where it might be relevant. Yeah. So I don't know. That's a hard pill to swallow. That it's none of your business. It's like, well, it's not my business, but it kind of seems like it's an issue that it would come up. But yeah, I think you do reference that, and his responses to this are a little strange, if you ask me.
Look how Bob is on. He's on to me. Look at him. He's like,
oh, Bob knows everything. He contributes so much in this conversation. You know what? We should keep a running tally of Bob's words in this conversation, because I'm thinking he contributes about. I don't know if I could even give him 1%.
He throws a serious gotcha at me later. Just spoiler.
It is true, and he gotcha so hard. Yeah. But let's let Dane kind of give his side of this argument. Why you shouldn't focus on people's genitalia. It's their own business.
Not often, but if I'm referring to them being in a prison with women or having to be with men, I would assume if somebody was trans and they had surgery, they shouldn't be in a prison with men, right?
No.
Right, and if somebody
he's so troubled.
Can't agree with you.
is trans and they have a penis, they probably shouldn't be in a prison with women.
I mean, okay, so wait.
So wait.
Well, I mean, I can't agree with you. Okay, so he's going to go on from there. Okay, so how would you justify that? Yes, it would be okay for a lady with a penis to be in with other ladies in confinement. Why would this be okay? Let's hear him. He gives quite the reason right here.
Because then they can have sex.
Do you think people don't have sex in prisons?
So because people are raped in prison, it doesn't matter.
There's consensual sex in prison also. It's not just all rape.
Yeah, but I don't know. Does he? Fair enough. I guess I wasn't thinking about the rumored consensual sex there. Just the rumored non-consensual. But fair enough. You're right. I was being a little close-minded to that.
Have you ever seen Oz?
But that's true. I've tried to forget about it. I like to think of him more as J. Jonah Jameson now. But so the fact that there is sex there means that we can't talk about why we would possibly segregate the men and the women. Why we would have,
and that not just that there can be the actual act of sex, but you can also impregnate someone. When you have
yes, you could get more than just a disease.
So
yeah.
Get a family.
Some could argue that is, the same. Let's let him go ahead and answer. I'm sure he will justify that. Here's why it would be okay. I'm sure he'll explain it all and not do this. What about sex happens in prison? So let's just not discuss this ever again.
No, of course they do. But if you want to limit the amount and not put a potential issue there, then yeah. It's all about protecting the women,
No.
Not in Dane's
I mean, so yeah, as people are pointing out, you can look these things up because I honestly am not an expert on how.
Listen, you can look this up, okay? I'm not going to tell you what it's going to say. I don't have an opinion on that. Just, you're wrong, okay? You're wrong. It's perfectly fine for a lady with a penis to be incarcerated with other ladies.
Yeah, or
perfectly
or
fine.
vice
Look
versa,
it up.
You know, like a vagina in a prison full of dicks.
Fair enough. I would.
No.
So yes, and I would worry for them in that situation where I'm kind of thinking it might go the other way in the other situation, but it would be a case by case basis for sure.
Feminine, or no, I shouldn't say feminine. Extremely passing, trans, no offense out there, right? Because it's a struggle for me. Pre-operation transition. There was an episode of Law and Order SVU. It fucking scarred me for life, where this this young trans girl is she committed some crime and she's being locked up, and there's a mix-up and they end up locking her up in general population, and for all intents and purposes, I mean, I think the actress was a girl, like, so it was supposed to be extremely passable woman, whatever you want to call it, and they put her into general population, and they were raped like 20 times or something. It's all in the show, but it like brought up an interesting issue, and that's why like a lot of this I was like, whoa, you can't do that. You can't put a trans person in a straight person's prison.
Well, it seems like, safety concerns alone
for
would
them, for others, for everybody.
Risk. It seems like there is a reason, and they do call it like cruel and unusual punishment or whatever. But I know there's yeah, exactly, and I know there were definitely times that they I'm not sure if they still are allowed, but supposedly they would like saltpeter the food and stuff to keep people more docile, if you will. So I don't know. It seems like this has kind of been an issue for quite some time. You put some really testosterone heavy people in a prison.
They do like sport fucking.
I don't know.
They're like
it's
an athletic activity fucking.
It just seems like these aren't the most rule abiding people possibly. So I don't know. It kind of seems like for safety concerns, you'd want to kind of look out for sure. But I'm sure Dane will kind of go into this, and I'm sure we could have been a little bit more sensitive when covering this because we're not bringing out stats or anything right now. So fair enough. Perhaps we could have done some more research into it. It's just
off the cuff.
a concern.
I was chatting from work, and then driving home from work, chatting, and then I was like, all right, fuck it, I'll just wait because I know I have plenty. My job is like 5 minutes away, so I was like, all right, fuck it, and that's how I ended up hopping on.
Well, I mean, with the 2.5 hours or whatever that they made you wait, I could understand changing location. You had plenty of time. But I think Dane's probably going to make some good points, and then Bob's going to have his beard stroking session. But yeah, let's keep going.
The issue of trans people in prison. So
me neither.
Well, so we shouldn't talk about it. That's one thing, right? That's
right,
I'm not going to sit here. I just know that it's not as simple as because I've heard smarter people than me argue about this or explain this, and it's like trans women are women, and by treating them in any other way. Particularly in prison, and denying them the health care that they need, which is medically proven.
I don't think they should be denied any health care at all. They should get all the health care they need, absolutely.
So you believe that you would say trans women are women, right? Like,
I mean, I don't. If they're trans women or women, I don't know why we call them trans women in the first place.
Ideally, in the future, we won't have to. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like saying black woman.
Hold on, pause the video for a second. Hold on, no, this is completely off the subject. But have you ever seen the movie Ice Pirates?
Yes. Yeah, it's been a while, but I do remember that movie.
I'll show you this now, but like later, will you be able to put in a picture if I need you to?
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to pull this up to the camera, and I don't know who's going to be able to see this. But it just triggered in my head right now. So can we see this?
Okay, I can definitely see similarities. Yeah. Huh.
Holy shit.
Huh.
I just looked and I'm like, Jesus Christ, am I watching Ice Pirates?
I can see what you mean. I was definitely thinking of other characters, but interesting.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go off subject. It's just sometimes my mind wanders, and that's where it went.
Yeah.
It was in Ice Pirates, apparently. Holy shit.
But kind of speaking on the whole trans women aren't women thing, I don't know. It's an interesting point. So why are they? Yeah, like why are they pushing so hard for that then if it's not a big deal? Like I don't know. It seems like the mere fact that they are pushing so hard to be like, no, it's just like everything. It's like, but you're also pushing at the same time that like cis women have this other identifier. So I don't know. Are they just wanting like women to be this category, but then trans women is a subcategory under that, and then whatever skin color is like?
You can't be a woman and be a trans woman and still have cis men and cis women. You can't have it both ways. So cis doesn't exist and trans doesn't exist, or male and female. Like when everything is everything, it's nothing.
But I don't know. The analogy that kind of sticks with me the most is kind of your Coke analogy, if you will. You know, snort it if you got it. Wait, no, the other Coke analogy. Sorry, the whole like if you go to a restaurant, you order a Coke,
or
like, would you be upset if they brought you a Diet Coke? I think, you know, most people might, or would you expect them to bring that to you? You would distinguish, you know, the one from the other, as in this different thing, this Diet Coke. I don't know. That does kind of make sense to me. Do we then need to call what we would normally say Coke? Do we need to call that like new Coke or cis Coke? I don't know. That is kind of interesting
not
to me.
Diet Coke. I'll have a not Diet Coke.
Yeah. Yeah. So it does seem like an interesting thing in language, and I do kind of understand the other side of it that like so Dane's going to bring up a kind of race-related version of that. I don't think it's exactly the same. You know, like women has never distinguished like, but these women of color aren't actually women. Where with trans, we kind of did have that distinction before. So it does seem like it's something different to me, kind of like the Diet Coke thing, if you will. I don't know. I can see the other end of the argument, but I'll let Dane kind of put this side of the argument out with the in relation to race.
Like it's only relevant when it's relevant.
First black woman, first
it's only relevant when it's relevant. You know what I'm saying? Like, like generally, you're not gonna, if you have 20 women and 3 of them are black women, you're not gonna say here's 17 women and 3 black women. You're gonna say here's 20 women, right? Same thing with trans women. It's just only relevant in the topic of conversation because people make it relevant. Ideally, and hopefully sometime soon in the future, we won't even have to distinguish, and you know we shouldn't have to.
We shouldn't have to distinguish. There is no distinguishing. Like if you order Coke, should it matter if you get Diet Coke or regular Coke? It's all Coke. I don't know. It's different. I can understand what he's saying, but then at the same time, then does it matter if there is this label of woman as opposed to just calling it, you know, a trans woman? It feels like you're kind of saying it doesn't matter, but it matters, but it doesn't matter, but it deeply matters to them. It's like, well,
because it's like,
are there other people that it deeply matters to? And does it matter if, you know, say a cis woman, it really matters to them if, you know, biologically that woman is attached to that? I don't know. It feels like we're only thinking of one side of this. I don't know. I can kind of see both arguments. I'm not exactly sure where I would come down on this. Because personally, you know, I would use somebody's pronouns or whatever, and I wouldn't, you know, like, for instance, there are people that I believe are trans. They at least, you know, identify as they, them with their pronouns. You know, we have gone out of our way to not just refer to them as like men or, you know, one of the guys. I don't know. It seems like I would do that in a, you know, personal way. But this seems a little different to me. It kind of feels like it's co-opting a previous definition and kind of changing it. So like woman doesn't mean anything to do with sex. It's like, I'm not sure. It always kind of has. I would kind of need to know some argument as to why it would be beneficial to, you know, not have this trans woman. Okay, that makes sense. We understand what women are. We understand what trans woman is. That adds to it. I don't know. I'm not sure what benefit we'd have from taking away that label and widening women up to include trans.
It's always strange to me because it's like it's not important, but it's so important. You know, it's like pay attention to this all the time, but don't. Like it's completely normal, but it's exceptional. Like what? Like what? Should I pay attention and ask questions, or should I just shut up and accept? Should I mean, am I an ally? Am I, you know, an enemy? Like, what the fuck? How do I fall into this if you're not going to really, you know, let me talk about it?
Yeah, that's exactly how I'm kind of feeling on this, and I hope that he's going to explain it. So let's try and.
Rational person. So.
Yeah, super rational.
What about for guys that are I don't like use that term cis. I don't understand it. I don't know how old you guys are, and I don't know how old your audience is. I'm in my 40s.
I'm 40. Yeah.
Okay, so so you're like
41.
Wow.
Bob said something.
That's a
Mark it
hard
down.
41. Yeah, so I'm 41. Okay. Well, we'll give you one hyphenated and one, I guess you'd call that, I don't know. I guess, I'm 41. So, like, with the dash and 41, I'm guessing I would just call that 2 words.
Yeah.
I'm 41.
Well,
but,
no,
okay.
count
Fair
times
enough.
he talked, not.
Okay, then let's go
not
1
words,
right now.
Because that's like,
Okay, fair enough. All right. Well, that would be easier to tally.
that's
So
all
let's
the
go ahead
reason.
with a
I'd like to know the actual amount
1.
of words we exchanged. Because I often tell
Okay.
people about the time I talked to Bob.
Okay. Well, we got 1 so far.
Okay, so yeah, we're all right in the same boat. But this cis thing to me is new. That means like normal, right?
Yes.
No, I mean, it does.
No, Bob.
Yes. So notice this is the first time that I have noticed this, where Bob immediately gives an answer, Dane contradicts him, and Bob immediately changes his position. So I'm going to go back about, there we go, 3 seconds.
It's like normal, right?
Yes.
No, I mean, it doesn't mean normal. No, that's not the right way to look at it.
Yeah, no, that's not the right term at all.
So this is something that he has done numerous times. I had a whole bunch of examples. It was a video that we were going to make, but our coverage of these guys is winding down. So yeah, just revel in that. That was the first time that Patrick experienced this firsthand, and it was the first time I noticed this pattern, if you will. Yes. No. Of course no. Yeah, I could definitely see the
That's why
puzzle
you
look
may have
on your
heard me
face.
say in the past, cis means normal. Like, that's where this comes from.
Yeah.
Cis,
no. Well, I mean, it could. Then you'd have to find out what you mean by normal. I could understand some hesitation, and they might get into that, but something tells me that might be too nuanced for them.
I'd like to just put the reminder here that this is my first, foray into getting into these kind of conversations. I know the basic terminology of a lot of things, but I was not up on, what is exactly politically correct to say in conversation.
I think he did a pretty I think he did a hell of a job here. I think he did decent, and I don't think I did as well in my first conversation with these guys. You were at least more cordial and got these guys to at least talk to you like a human. I didn't do that, so
you gotta pet them a little.
That's 1 on your side. But yeah, let's see. Maybe Bob will say another word.
Essentially, it means you identify as your birth sex.
So heterosexual.
I'm going to give him a second.
No. So you're talking about sexuality now.
No.
Sexuality and gender are not the same. And it's look.
Yeah, I'm not going to even try to figure that out. I'm not. I try to do my best to respect everybody.
Why not try though? It's.
I meant
so that again feels like a double standard.
In the moment.
Yeah,
I didn't mean
But he just did that moments ago with the whole trans in prison issue. He said that's a lot, and he basically said he wasn't going to try.
Yeah.
And now he's chastising you for saying I'm not even going to try to figure it out. That seems like it's a big issue. It would require some additional information, perhaps. No, that's unacceptable for you. But if it's an issue that he doesn't like your answer to, we can just dismiss that. We don't have to discuss that right now. It seems interesting to me. But yeah, that was what I noticed with that. I don't know. Any thoughts on the whole why you won't figure out the difference between sexuality and gender?
Yeah, I just didn't really know the difference, and I think I don't really know it now. But I just meant in the moment. I'm not really trying to figure that out. It doesn't mean enough to me,
Yeah, that's how I interpret it. And it's not that you're not willing to, you're not putting out a definitive statement on it now. You're not ready to write a thesis on it. It's yeah. That makes sense to me.
It's really not hard. I'll be honest. It's really not hard to figure out if you just listen and kind of absorb the information and what you're doing right now. I'm not trying to be hostile, but you're kind of not letting us explain something, and you're just saying I'm not trying to figure it out. Yeah, that's closing your mind off to information that you could easily learn and just have. If you really want to treat people, with respect, then it's super easy, man. It really is. These are things I've had to learn in several years. I didn't understand any of this. I even made a big mistake. I've talked about this before. On Facebook several years ago, I said something just thinking I was being inclusive, and it was just beyond ignorant, and someone called me on it. Thankfully, they did it privately. I know that's not always the case, and people get dogpiled, but somebody messaged me and said, hey, this is actually not the way to look at it, and gave me some information.
And I'm sure he did the same thing for you, right? When you said something that apparently he didn't like, I'm sure he sent you an email privately and was like, you know what, I don't like this. I don't like this opinion of yours. I think it's wrong for this reason. I think it's really uncharitable. I'm sure he did that same thing for you that he's talking about. This cool person did for him, right? He would want to exhibit the same behavior.
When he blocked you, Everybody gets an email when you get blocked, explaining like what you said and why it was wrong and how you should work.
Oh, maybe I went to my spam filter
yeah.
because I didn't get that either. I just said,
It was well written.
you know, it might be refreshing to hear from Lofty, and then I instantly got blocked.
Yeah. Bye.
That's interesting. But yeah, I'm sure he normally gives that same charity and explains to somebody, hey, you might have been a little bit insensitive with this. Here's my literature on it. Perhaps you want to address this and you know, maybe alter your opinion should you find this data relevant. But no, that's not what he did in your case. Spoilers. Sorry.
And I learned, man, like, and it's like, if you care enough to talk about it, you should care enough to just listen and you know, listen to their, for one thing, primarily their experiences from them. You know, and you know, I guess if nothing else, a couple of cis dudes talking about it. I mean,
yeah, it's weird that the three of us are talking about it, 340-year-old white guys.
It is weird that there's 3 of you on this call, and he said a couple of cis dudes. So
yeah,
does that mean one of you is not cis?
Do you mean me?
I don't know. Well, maybe he didn't want to assume.
Yeah,
but
that was nice.
Interesting.
But
well, so cis is short for cisgender, and it's a term that describes a person whose gender identity corresponds with their sex assigned at birth. So the difference between gender identity and sex is, you know, so if you're born as a male, you're born as a male. Nobody's denying that. Like there are a lot of you know, transphobe types that will try to say we're trying to you know, say biology isn't biology or whatever. Nobody's doing that. Nobody is doing that. If you're
That's not true. And that really sucks that he's just saying nobody is doing that. Nobody is doing that. So if you had the same power as him, what you would have done right here is gone ahead and muted him and paused him and said, that is just not true. You need to show me the evidence that nobody is saying that. That seems like a ridiculous standard, but he's about to do the same thing to you. Again, spoilers coming up very soon. But it just seems, you know, really interesting to me is the only way that I can put this, that he has these standards for you, and you know, he's going to treat you a certain way. But all you're supposed to do on this conversation is shut your mouth, and then once it's the appropriate time, parrot back exactly what he said. That's the only way that this conversation can work in his eyes. I don't dig
this.
this.
The time in the stream where I have to change my lighting.
born
yes,
as a male, you're
Dane,
born as a male.
take it away.
Trans woman is assigned male at birth. There's an acronym for that. Assigned male at birth. Gender identity, gender expression is a different thing. And that's like...
Yeah, what is that?
So, do you know...
I'm such a dick.
You get a better...
Like right there, I didn't even know what it was.
Yes, but he's
see,
talking down to
you
you,
go back,
like
you could,
such an asshole.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
they are different things.
You can see the smirk on their
okay,
faces.
what are
Bring
they?
up the Diet Coke. I'm like,
yeah, I mean, like, so that's the
like, you
thing.
don't
That
know.
was all you were trying to say is like, that seems like it's kind of a big can of worms, and it seems like there's multiple opinions on it. I'm not sure I want to get into that right away. Here's what we were talking about, which was that prison issue, and kind of spoilers. We're not going to get back to that, but yeah, let's now let him bring up a some sort of definition, and I'm sure, you know, he'll be super charitable when you have questions about it.
Description here. Unless, Bob, you have something that you can explain here.
I don't have anything on this. I have you know, I have basic knowledge, but yeah.
It's a personal sense of
So
one's
that's
own
number
gender.
4.
So, you know, what do you think of when you think of a woman?
I'm not trying to like, you know, like what is a woman you hear, but like what is that? You know, like.
No, I'm at, what do you think of when you think of a woman?
You know, I suppose like the natural reaction is everybody's going to say, you know, that the body parts, but you know, like femininity.
Titties, but I didn't think I was allowed.
You know, a certain, you know, pretty soft, feminine, motherly
vagina.
So if you
all of those things sound feminine to me. You know, what can I say? That was a pretty awesome on the spot definition. You're right, and it doesn't seem like you're super close minded. You're not literally just saying vagina or chromosomally somebody who is you know, not a male. It sounds like you're actually talking about some features that would be considered in gender. So fair enough. It seems like they could try and meet you halfway. Let's see if they do.
If you encountered, you know, which I'm sure you have, you know, there's all types of shapes and sizes of cis women.
Yeah.
That's not that, you know, a rough and tumble woman. She's, you know, got, you know, sharp features and kind of rugged. Do what?
Like a tomboy.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
We had tomboys growing up. I'm sure you guys did too. We always had that girl in the neighborhood who was like, you know, tougher than most. You kick your ass if you said the wrong thing to her.
Right. Well, I mean, a lot of times those tomboys grow up and they still kind of maintain those, you know, those features, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but what if they're encouraged to transition,
we don't
and
have
it turns
tomboys
out that
anymore.
it is kind of interesting. It seems like that should be able to kind of be explored without it being considered like hatred to say like, but these people used to exist in society. A certain amount of them kind of grow out of it. A certain amount of them don't.
Yeah.
But is there anything wrong with that? That they're not like the traditional like femininity? I don't think so. But if they're encouraged to then become males, I don't know. That seems like it's different. It seems like that would warrant some sort of conversation. But obviously, it's a deeply personal thing, and it's not like there's like a across the board solution for everything. But I don't know. Did you just say like you're being a bigot for even thinking this or having any sort of discussion on it? That seems weird. Which yeah, that might be the direction where we're going. I'll stop doing spoilers, but let's let Dane keep going.
Yeah.
And so that kind of goes against what you're saying about what you see as a woman. Do you think that that's not a woman though?
No, she's definitely a woman. I mean, she was born a woman. She has a she had a vagina, and she
was born a female.
Vagina.
She's born a female. So like, let me
was
ask.
born with a woman's parts.
Do you have pets? Do you have a dog?
Yeah, I did.
Is it a man?
I have pets. I have 2 cats.
Are they men or women?
No, they're
That's
both
when
males.
Obi was still alive.
Rest in peace.
This part kills me, though, by the way. This part kills me because I'm so fucking dumb. Like, he goes into this whole fucking thing, and I'm going to do a little spoiler here, but he goes in the whole thing about, like, what kind, is it female or a male dog? And I didn't even think, like...
Is it a man cat?
Like, I didn't even think, like, I've never heard somebody be like, come here, male, come here, male, come here, female. They're like, come here, boy, come here, girl.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I mean, I have heard
boy?
that.
Who's a good boy?
I was going to say, I have heard something similar to that in both kink play and, people with clan hoods or clan robes, whatever you want to call it, the like, come here, boy type deal. Yeah, so I don't know. It is not something that most people would say. I suppose somebody's uttered those words, but you're right. Like, that is something that is, kind of...
You say it to your pets.
It just seems like strange language.
You
Yeah.
have dogs, right?
Yes.
Are they male or female?
Yes, sir. They are man dogs.
Yeah, and when you call them, are you like, come here, boy?
Sometimes, but sometimes I say, man dog, get over here.
Dog of penis, because they probably have their balls.
Mr. Dog. Yeah, that's true. Can I really call them men, or are they trans dogs now? I don't know. They identify as man dogs. It's true. They're post-op goodest boys. It is an interesting conversation to have because you are talking about like deeply human terms and then trying to make it with animals. So it's like, okay, I understand what you're trying to say, but it's not a direct analogy. It's not a very good one. But all right, let's let him keep going with it.
You'll notice that you went to male there. I asked you if they're men or women, and you rejected that seemingly, right?
Yeah, I guess right because we don't have to make a distinction with animals because
because it's a human concept. It's something we have applied socially, culturally, and of course we're raised to have and grow up around certain contexts and have a certain idea of what these things mean. But they are fundamentally just things that we have decided as a society, and it also changes culturally.
So so you're saying like socially and as a culture, as a group, we brought this the woman. Calling someone a woman and calling someone who was a man a woman and assigning it to that, that's like a cultural, social thing, right? Like we figured that out.
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Where I was going here?
I'm trying to articulate.
I do. I don't think he does, though. I think it's a tactic of his to make you repeat it so that it gives him time to kind of think an answer of it. I don't think he actually has one here.
I was trying to repeat what he was saying to me, which was that I was saying that a woman acting like a woman does is a socialized thing. And it's the only reason, like we have it culturally, and that's it.
That seems to be what he's saying.
Which is what I was asking him. That's what he's saying.
I'm not sure if that's where you were going with this, but yeah, the scientific literature doesn't seem to back that up. Like there's all these studies with, not only just females and males of different species and different animals, but there seems to be certain tendencies that they seem to be inherent. Yeah. They don't seem to be like learned. Like everything is not necessarily blank slate. That theory does not seem to be panning out with a lot of different forms of, I don't know, I guess essentially like, a lot of the different sciences have kind of shown that there are these kind of evolutionary traits that everyone's not as blank slated as previously thought. So I thought that's maybe where you were going with this, but I'm not 100% certain. But it doesn't seem like he wants to follow you down that. Instead, he seems a little concerned that this is some sort of gotcha. So I think that's why he's having you repeat it. But I could be wrong. That might be me mind reading. But it doesn't seem like he's trying to follow you. So let's see if he follows you down this road once he's asked you to repeat it.
Like you're saying that like someone being trans is because of like a social, cultural thing. Because you said
I'm saying that
the cats identify as male or female because they don't have like a society to tell. Maybe I misunderstood what you meant.
Yeah, I think you are. I'm sorry if I'm not making that point clear.
That's okay.
So,
stupid.
Okay, so you know anything about plants?
Sure.
You know how there can be a male plant and a female plant, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they serve certain biological
functions. You know about clone?
Right?
There are also
but you wouldn't apply
clones.
man or woman to a plant, despite the fact that we can relate those biological functions to the male and female, typical functions of the human, male and female.
I mean, I suppose I would if I was talking about some kind of fertilization process.
You would, what you would call it, a man?
I don't know a lot about.
But what if the plant identifies as a female, but it has a plant penis?
What if the plant had a big old?
I don't know. I think you would still be calling them male and female if you were talking about fertilization in here. I think he, again, doesn't want to actually engage with what you're saying.
I think he fucked up the road he was going on because he was trying to use man and woman and saying that you wouldn't call a plant a woman plant, but it's still a female plant which identifies.
But then we get into the male-female thing.
Like, what are we
and
fucking talking about here? Plants?
Yeah. And
plants,
yes,
plants
we only
and
use man and woman
so
for
what Dane has
men
to
and
explain
women.
Trans terminology.
Yeah. But he is the expert. You need to just listen.
Make plants, make other plants.
Me either. I'm just saying, there is a fertilization process. Sorry.
That's where I would say there would be a distinction. Like, you could have a really pretty plant, but it's still going to be like the male plant. You know what I'm saying?
True.
Like, like peacocks.
Here's.
They are stunning. I do enjoy me a peacock. So Bob was almost gonna speak up there, so we got him on 4 times that he's spoken so far. Let's let him go. I don't think he's gonna chime in, but he looks like he might. He's very concentrated. He's thinking about it.
Lucifer writing. Thank you. If you insisted that only female cats were allowed to drink milk, and that was a feminine quality, it would.
That would be a stupid rule, and that seems completely arbitrary. I don't think we have any rules like that, but I don't know. Maybe he's talking about. I don't know. Excuse me. Maybe Lucifer is talking about societal norms. I don't know.
Don't feed your cats milk, by the way, because they'll shit all over your house.
That's what I've heard. Like, why did this rumor get? Yeah, like why did this get spread around? I don't know. Very strange.
It would be a social choice. So it's kind of like women used to wear dresses, and it would be weird for women to wear pants. Even like 60, 70 years.
But did we have like women only food? Like, were only women allowed to have dairy, and like no men could have dairy? I don't know. I actually have read this really cool book series where women do have their own type of food, and it is more like sweet, like, and the men's is more peppery, like it's always spicy food. It's interesting. I've never thought of something like gendered food before, but
makes sense.
I don't know. His milk analogy is kind of weird because like he is talking about like clothing, where clothing arguably is gendered, but I don't know. It's just not the same as like. That was where I was going to go with that. Like
that Chatter's a dumb bitch though, so it's not like shocking to me that this is what he came up with.
You could take your kid gloves off on this one. I think they could take it if you.
I'm like old man. I don't want to compare myself to Wolverine because I know Dane likes that, but it's like old man Logan here. Like,
well, you are his favorite,
like 4
so
months ago,
I can see the
aged like 7 years since then.
Watching these videos takes a toll on you. I do not recommend. I mean, if you want to see it from the horse's mouth, watch it because it's only going to be around for essentially the time that it airs live, and then he hides everything. But it will take a toll on you. It's kind of like being in office. People say it ages you much quicker than.
I'd like to see a diagram on this. I'll have to.
Well,
I'm pretty sure he's going to make a really smart point about gendered food. Let's keep going.
It was not very normal. That typically, traditionally, even in some cultures now, that just women wearing pants like is not as common. Whereas now it's like women wear whatever the fuck they want, and that's a good thing.
Sure.
That is an expression of of gender, which is something that is socially enforced. Like if it's not like all those women in the 40s wanted to be wearing dresses all the time. They just had no choice, basically, because society expected it of them.
Did.
Well, isn't he also making up like some made-up statistic that like not all of them? It's like, well, okay, like how come he gives you so spoiler? He's going to make you prove a statistic that you're saying later on, but it seems like he's doing the same thing where he's again using this like general language. Like, do you think all of them wanted to wear a dress? It's like, no, of course not. Who would say that about all of anything? It just seems like a ridiculous notion, and you're not saying that either. But we all get it. Like clothing changes. Like what was acceptable in the 80s really isn't generally worn now. There aren't that many people wearing hammer pants these days, but
times change,
whatever.
hairstyles change, genders change.
For sure, and different societies have different standards as well.
Doesn't change.
They don't change.
So you're saying
you dirty
well,
scrum bastard.
he has his unwashed scrum.
The being female, being feminine part is the socially forced, not the trans.
So our perspective on it, our expectations of it, is the social reinforcement. Like,
it's a hard thing to explain to people, and I think.
All right, so
I think that's why people get so frustrated.
Right, number 5.
Ideas being forced on them that they can't understand because it can't even be articulated. So I think that's why you get this pushback from people. Like someone like me, maybe I come off a little trolly in the comments, and I did admit to Bob trolling you the other day a couple times, and you silenced me before I could actually start sticking up for you with a bunch of stuff, which ticked me off. But mainly that guy talking about you being a single father, I just thought was disgusting. Like I'm a single father, like that. Not.
So, just pointing it out, that was his conversation with Eric July. Even from the beginning, before you even knew these guys, before you'd ever talked to them, you still had this stance that, like, that part when Eric July went off, that was unwarranted and it was over the line. I just think it's cool that you do have this documented. That, like,
as a man, you don't say that kind of stuff about other men, especially a man who's clearly doing the best he can to be a good dad. Like anybody who follows all this bullshit and sees Bob, he's fully involved with his kids. Has streams with them, goes to conventions with them. He's obviously a good dad. He might be retarded when it comes to like his takes on certain things, but that doesn't make him a bad person. Yeah, I didn't like it.
Fair enough.
I didn't like it at all. So, and I
think that's awesome that you've had this take from the beginning. That is really awesome. But that being said, Eric July, not to defend what he did, but he was definitely provoked into that.
We're supposed to be bigger,
Bob wasn't exactly
be the better person.
innocent on there. Yeah, but still, I just think that's awesome that we do have it immortalized that has been your position from the beginning. You haven't just like shifted or something. It's like, man, like that's not somewhere where you go. Like that's just off limits. That's awesome. You have principles.
With your baby mama has nothing to do with being a good father. I'm sure you're an excellent father. But like you can't really make somebody understand. So I don't like this is why I think people get so frustrated, and then it's like, all right, I'm not being heard, so trans is ridiculous, is what they'll say.
No,
okay,
I just wanted to tell our chat this too. I do genuinely believe that this is not a troll or that he's not being a fucking dick, guys. Maybe I turn out to be wrong, but I mean, if I'm wrong, trying to reach out to somebody who's, you understand how rare it is to find somebody in these situations that like
so big of
is actually trying to learn something, and they're not just like being a troll and a dick. I hope you know that. But like,
and I just kind of want
to
add
maintain that
speak
position
just a little
too.
bit
I'm sure he's going to maintain that position. I'm sure he's just going to, keep being charitable in that same way, saying, hey, this guy seems honest. He has questions. He's willing to listen. Okay. It sounds like he was paying you a compliment.
Alert,
so
last about 12 hours.
The way that I found you two
video.
it is probably not the route anybody that's in your comment section would appreciate. I found you guys.
Is this where it took the
first
turn?
I was listening to the Critical Drinker because I was really into a couple of shows that he was covering. Then of course it led to EFAB, right? And from EFAB, I found Rags, which I know no one's a fan of Rags. I think he's funny for whatever my own personal reasons.
You definitely
and then I
can
found
be.
that whole thing that went back and forth, Bob, with you and him, and it was silly. The whole thing was kind of funny, you guys going back and forth. And then I found
it was funny.
Bob. And I'm not gonna lie, man, you frustrate me a little bit in the way that you handle people. But that's how I found you guys. And then again, then I saw the debate the other day with I'm gonna forget his name, the black fella.
Eric July.
Eric July.
See, I didn't even know what his name was.
Hey, they were still willing to say his name back then.
And,
wasn't the Derek August section.
I didn't know what his name was, but somehow in their eyes, you're like a shill, you're a fucking Simp.
Well, I mean, you're not going to admit that you know the guy's name that pays us, are you? Like, that would just connect
I
you
know,
to it.
right?
Like, no,
he's
you
our
got to disavow all
our
knowledge of him.
counterpart from Mr. Beck.
Yeah, but I mean, that's, this is
I
awesome.
called him
Like,
that
it's
black
just
fella. I have no idea who he was.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they even couldn't name him coming up soon. A few months after this, it was just Derek August to them. He is a name that they will not repeat.
Voldemort.
But yeah, at this point, they were willing to say it.
I saw, just the whole reactionary thing, and then I started actually like watching you. Let me say this, almost as a dick, like with the intent to be like, all right, I'm gonna tease him. And then I actually started listening, and I'm like, what? I want to get what these guys are trying to say to me, or trying to say, because I don't know if you're right. I really don't. But I don't agree with everything, and you seem like you really feel like you're right. So that's how I got here. So anybody in chat who wants to like silence me or call me a troll or just assume something about me, because maybe I'm not as articulate as I could be in chat, and maybe I am a little bit of a dick.
That's right, Whitney. He
but
said
I am
those
genuinely
words.
here to try to like.
We kind of are too, especially me. I mean, so I will say this about like not knowing who might be right or what. One thing to think about if you're going to go forward watching their content and maybe watch ours too, see who's offering you context to things. See who's offering you real analysis and not just claiming things, right? Like we did if you want to check out a video about Critical Drinker that one of our buddies, Turf Nation, he's usually here with us on Wednesdays, but he's not right now. He did a breakdown of Critical Drinker video called Why Modern Movies Suck Because They Hate Men.
So you can still find that video, and feel free to watch that on Turf's site. He is not a coward, and he has not hidden that.
You can't find
this
fucking stream, but
yeah, this one's gone. Anything else that he's about to reference right here is gone. But big props to Turf there. I disagree with a lot of what he assessed in that video, but yeah, here Dane's going to explain how you can check that they give the actual context and everything like that. Again, it's in a previous video. It's now been privated. You can't see it, but they gave all the context. You need to do your homework and listen to them and believe. But yeah, let's let him keep going.
You might have seen that one. And man, there's a lot of dishonest stuff in there, and he breaks it down pretty damn well. Just the way that he edits things, he's destroying his own points, Critical Drinker, as he's making them by the things he's showing on screen. And it's just that kind of shit I think is irresponsible, if or just lazy, if nothing else.
Hey, look at that.
Hey, that guy has so much respect for you, and he's showing that you're good faith. So that's awesome. I did not get the same respect from him, but technically I don't think I've been blocked by him yet. You did get blocked by him, and also called a racist when you were just trying to explain that he was doing the same thing. It would be like this, and he's like, "You just called me." Anyway, watch our previous coverage on that. Ed really got drunk and did not understand, and then banned you from his chat as well.
Don't drink and stream.
But in the beginning, it's awesome. You're good faith. Glad you're here.
Much respect.
Goes downhill from there.
And yeah, exactly. Thank you. And then Ed said something a minute ago. Biologically, yes, we are born with a certain genitalia, and then society tells you what that means. And I understand it's not the easiest thing.
So that's kind of the blank slate thing, and it would have been awesome, like if you guys could have gotten into that a little bit more. So, like, do you believe there's zero like traits that are passed down biologically? Like females have this, preference or this ability. I don't know. It just seems weird. It sounds to me like they're saying we are all blank slates, and men and women are exactly equal, and it's just society which tells us why we're different. I don't know about that. So yeah, I'd be interested in kind of hearing their position, but they don't want to flesh it out anymore. Just you're supposed to hear that and say yes. Yes.
I'm not expecting you anyway to just go.
It's a hard pill to swallow.
I don't expect you to go, I get it right now in the moment. I don't. I just would ask you to consider it and think about it, because nobody's telling anybody that they're not what they feel like they are. There's a lot of misrepresentation of gender ideology, they call it, when it's really just it's science. It really is. And they don't like.
It's science. It really is. It's just, it's science. All that gender ideology. Yeah. Well, the day shifts, sometimes clouds come in. What can I say? You figured out your lighting by now, and now you're at your optimum. But, yeah, it's weird. Like, he's literally talking about gender ideology, and then he's saying it's science. I don't know. I wouldn't say that any ideology is science. That's really kind of shitty. I would want to explore that further with them, but I'm sure I would have been blocked right about then when I started questioning what the hell do you mean by that? That seems like a really stupid statement. I would try to be more diplomatic than that, but I just don't understand how ideology would be science. But all right, let's let him keep explaining.
Talk about that, but here, we'll just look at Wikipedia. Do you trust Wikipedia? Do you think they generally have?
Well,
I mean, I think they're all right.
Not necessarily.
What's up, Bob?
I mean, it can be changed, right?
I had a different. We can go over this, but I have a separate thing I want to.
Ooh, that's number 8.
So gender identity is the personal sense of one's own gender. That's it, personal sense, and that's why it becomes a sticking point, because it's like, if I feel like I am, nobody questions me for feeling like a man. Honestly, I don't really even identify. Like, I don't think of myself in masculine terms or anything.
Feeling like a man either.
Nobody thinks of him in masculine terms. I mean, let's be honest here. As long as we're just being honest. Have you ever been like, Dane, masculine? Yeah. I certainly haven't. But okay, let's let him keep explaining.
Or whatever. It's just like, this is just who I am. I'm happy with it, or at least content with it, which really is probably more an expression of the privilege that I don't have to think about it. But yeah, when someone...
Have you checked your privilege, sir? I wish you would.
Someone else is telling you you're not that thing that you feel like and know you are, that's where it becomes a problem. And it's often by the very same people who want to, don't try and take my personal liberty and whatnot. It's like, okay, but when it comes to me telling you this is who I am, you don't want to do it. It can correlate with the person's assigned sex or can differ from it. In most individuals, the various biological determinants of sex are congruent and consistent with the individual's gender identity. So that's a cisgender person.
He's so smart when he's reading
gender expression tip.
Yeah, you can tell he knows all of this. It's just like the back of his hand. He's totally not just learning this for the first time as he's reading it.
Yeah.
He knows where it's
going. Reflects the person's gender
identity for the trans community.
Yeah, they couldn't have asked for a better ally. He is the ally.
Identity, but not always the case. A person may express behaviors, attitudes, and appearances consistent with a particular gender role, and that's really kind of what, when it comes to what we socially and historically, culturally expect of a man and expect of a woman. Like, for instance, 100 years ago, women didn't really work, right?
Yeah.
It was just not really done very much. So let's say they were school teachers or something.
Nowadays, some men don't work. Dane knows a little something about that.
Something like that. Then World War II, maybe World War I, but the world wars generally saw a lot of men leaving to go fight in wars, and the economy has going, industry has to keep going. So that's when women stepped up and they started working in factories.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, generally women did not want to work.
Well, I don't know if that's the case, but I mean, nonetheless, the fact is they didn't.
Whatever. Reel us off of this to go into like the women's rights, and he didn't.
No,
fight.
He's going to explain history to you. You don't understand. They needed the munitions. Have you ever heard of Rosie the Riveter?
I'm like, they didn't want to go to work. Nobody wants to go to work. It's like, no. No.
I think Dane knows a little something about that, not wanting to go to work. It's weird that he's, advocating for women being in the workforce right now when he's not even advocating for himself being in it.
I'm going to stay right here in this room.
Well, it is how he runs his life.
Whether they wanted to or they weren't expected to or whatever, the societal norm was that women were not the breadwinners. They didn't do the work. The men were the hard workers, so on and so forth. Fast forward 100 years, now, women work.
I guess he is doing his part to dismantle that.
Work and have jobs. And a lot of them are more successful than their, male partners or whatever.
Yeah, my girlfriend makes more money than I do, I'll tell you that.
There you go. Well, that's like a good example of
no problem with that.
Gender norms changing and how these things are not immutable. They're not like that's not just the way it is. The fact that women do this and men do this. And that includes wearing makeup. That includes wearing certain clothes. That includes walking a certain way, talking a certain way. Like, these things are not just...
But I don't know, like, it's just weird that he went in this place with you instead of just asking, like, do you have any issue with anyone dressing any way that they want to? Like, do you see any issue with that?
No,
like,
I give a fuck less what you wear.
I mean, like, did you have any issue with like the glam bands of like the 80s or whatever? Like, they were all basically wearing like, spandex and what would be traditionally really gross, feminine outfits.
Probably care. Like,
for sure.
I don't care who you are and you decide you want a pair of short shorts, but if your muffin tops are sticking out of the top and your fat hairy ass is out the bottom, I'm probably gonna care.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm definitely gonna judge, but I could care less.
Having to care.
Yeah, and that's what I mean by judge. It's like, don't want to stand next to them. That don't want to be looking at that. Definitely don't want them teaching my kid. I might think that perhaps they don't have. Yeah. So I could understand certain preferences like that, but for the most part, I could care less what somebody's wearing. Like, it's their own choice. And, you know, if anyone's telling me what I should wear, screw you. I'm going to wear my Blockbuster uniform. That's what I wear.
Fixed in stone with the human condition, right? So, like, and yeah, there's a lot to it. But what were you going to say, Bob? Sorry.
So I was just going to ask you a simple question. So
number 9.
if you saw somebody
Getting ready for Bob's gotcha.
dressed as this, walking around, would you assume this is a masculine or feminine outfit?
I mean, if I got in a time machine and
no, I'm not. I'm asking right now.
I would
no time travel. No time travel this episode.
Today, if you saw someone wearing that today, would you think you saw a ghost? Yeah, like, I don't know. It's just weird. Like, I wouldn't immediately go like, well, that is masculine. I would be like, what the fuck is that? Like, why are you?
Here, but that's clearly a man's
Yeah,
outfit.
for sure. It's like
I know what it's coming.
Yes.
Like from the time period, like there's a million things. He could have just shown me a skirt. Like, who do you think this is made for?
Well, he could have just shown you a dude from the 80s, like in a glam band. It's like, okay, well, if you're just showing me the silhouette, that could be a woman. I don't know. Oh, okay, no, that's
like
a dude.
Every
Yeah,
third,
that's still a dude.
Third picture of Jared Leto or Kanye West.
Fair enough.
But Bob,
now, is this a man or a woman? It's like
Bob's going way back. What do you think of their hairstyle?
I get it, but like there are people who, you know, bend societal norms. I don't think that there's any issue with it. Like, you know, I had a failed career in music, and let me tell you, there were some weird outfits that a lot of people wore. I only participated in a little bit of it, but yeah, I never went over the top with like, I'm going to reinvent societal norms with my outfits. But there were people that tried to do that. I'm perfectly comfortable with it. Just, you know, I have some questions as to like why we would change all these norms. I think, you know, a conversation could be had. But yeah, let's let him continue with this trap.
Long hair. What? Why? They're wearing a skirt. They have long hair.
Well, I mean, I don't think a skirt. I mean, the Scottish, right? They wear skirts. I mean, they wear kilts anyway. I'm not saying a guy can't wear a skirt. Guys would have been wearing skirts.
No, of course they can. But
okay, but like I see what you're saying. It's like a feminine outfit.
Yeah.
All right. What's the point?
I mean, this would have been like the masculine outfit back in the day.
Couldn't he have shown you like a like British barrister or whatever? Don't they still have to have like the weird wigs and like the, you know, essentially like a gown or whatever? I don't know. I think there's.
I get what he was going for, you know, but it's just.
But I mean, like, there's just weird societal norms and stuff. It's like, okay, I don't know. I don't necessarily like wearing a tie everywhere, or the fact that it's inappropriate to wear a hat inside sometimes.
Because even though this outfit was a traditionally whatever, you look like a girl wearing it. It was a male's outfit. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, no, that
for sure.
Wasn't challenging.
That's kind of why I think like the hair metal or whatever would have made more sense. Because it's like, here's a time in our recent past, you were even alive at this time. Were you outraged at this? Okay, why are you outraged at this? I don't know. That to me seems like a better argument than, this thing from like the 1600s or whatever. It was manly. See? I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not arguing that people can't wear whatever they want. I think, again, where the trouble comes in is that you try to, you're wanting to tell a lot of people what they should think and not what they have learned. Like Dane, you learned. Right? Like you told me, you learned. It took you time, and you learned that the. Well,
I mean, yeah, but
your opinions.
It did, but at the same time, in that interim, the period that I was learning enough to be like, okay, I kind of get it. I wasn't online telling other people that they're wrong or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the thing. It's like everybody has to learn.
What he
I
does
don't think
now.
anybody would, begrudge that. But if you're just now learning these things, and then you're online making, these statements about people's genitals and shit like that, just, it's kind of how many other topics?
Why are you online making statements about people's genitals, Patrick? I don't know. It's just a weird way of framing, like, but should males be put in female prisons?
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't seem like you're talking about people's genitals. I don't know. It's
Why do you care?
It's very strange if you.
Why do you care?
Like, because it will be a bigger problem in the near future. I have empathy and, sensitivity for humanity and the suffering of others, and I see that there could potentially be more suffering than need be. I don't know.
Why do you care about this thing I bring up constantly?
Yeah, fair enough. Why? Okay, I understand that you're learning, but what you need to do is just shut up and just accept everything all the time. That is how you learn. To me, it just seems like he's got these weird standards for everything. But yeah, maybe he'll... explain why this is all fine.
You don't know much about, and yet you're going to speak with authority on them. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
the
but
guy
I
who
mean, I
just
think
read
this is
from
one where
Wikipedia.
people can actually speak to because they already know something about it.
But they don't, because we've talked about people. A lot of people still don't know they forgot that they were taught the difference between sex and gender in school and have just gone through their whole life conflating the two and thinking it's the same thing when they're not. And then I think the word cisgender, like in particular, I feel like maybe this is just how I feel of it whenever I first heard of it, but I feel like there's some kind of resistance to it because it's like, I don't know, it sounds like sissy or something like that.
It does sound a little bit like cisgender.
It kind of sounds like sissy. I got to be honest. When I first heard cisgender, I was when I was still hearing like systemic racism or systematic. Yeah. So I thought it was like system assigned gender. So I was like, well, that's stupid. It wasn't system. So I misunderstood it the first time I heard it. I just heard it. I didn't see it written out, so I didn't understand. But you know, we all learn somewhere. It does feel like he could, you know, have a little bit more empathy for that. But apparently, he's saying that you are going on the internet telling people they shouldn't be doing things, which wasn't what I got from the chat. Again, I would tell everyone to go watch this video, but yeah, you can't. It's kind of gone. But yeah. Anyway, it would be nice if he was a little bit more charitable with the way that he's framing what you're doing. You're not just talking about people's genitals on the internet, and you know, you weren't exactly telling everyone they were wrong. You were asking questions, which yeah, he doesn't like. He likes you to just shut up and listen. Yeah.
Actually, the funny thing is, I thought cisgender for the longest time meant gay. I had no idea, like, and I'm talking a couple years, like when this stuff first started to really pop up. And again, there's just so many terms. There's so many different ways to explain the same thing. It's like, it's hard for anybody to keep up with any of this. It used to be.
There's not so many ways to explain the same thing. It's just that, and look, I do actually feel for, older people, older than even us but I mean, I've also known several of them that have just gotten it, or at least if they don't fully get it, they just don't speak with authority. They listen. And it's this inclination for people to want to say how things are, despite even when they admit that they don't understand something.
You're not saying that you understand it. You've come in here a whole bunch of times saying like you don't understand it. I don't see you speaking with authority on it. You were asking questions, but yeah, it just, I don't like his framing of this. It just seems very paranoid.
From the beginning, I've been framed.
Yeah.
I've been framed. Worse than Roger Rabbit.
Indeed.
And it's like, it doesn't hurt you or me or anybody. It hasn't hurt me or how I feel about my gender or anything like that since I've made good friends with a couple of trans and non-binary people. It doesn't, like, it's not cost me anything. And it's this idea that we are somehow giving something up in order to give these people space to explain themselves or not explain themselves if they don't want to. That's another thing. It's like, why are we? What happened to live and let live? This is literally the most,
But that's the problem, though. Live and let live. It is in these circumstances, and I'll use the word as a cis man. It's not live and let live. I'm over here, like, do whatever you want. I don't care what you do with your life, but I'm being told, not me personally, but as like a cis man, like I'm being told that I have to respect these things. I have to identify these people the way they want to be identified. I have to, otherwise I'm a bigot. And it's like, no, I'm not a bigot. I just don't want to have to participate in somebody else's reality because live it and let live. Like, just go do your own fucking things. Pardon my curse.
I thought you weren't allowed to curse.
So let me.
Well, you're not allowed to. He can, especially if he's threatening someone's life. But other than that, you should be respectful at all times and just shut your mouth and listen.
I think this is the point of the
so this counts
conversation
as...
where Dane is starting to be like, this guy is nice and rational. I need to get rid of him.
So we are now up to number 10 with Bob, but 3 of them were just so I counted those. He attempted to interject, but yeah, there's more times than I thought from listening to it back. But all right, let's let him interject a little bit.
Let me break this down to a bit more basic components. So let's say there's a woman and she gets married and she has a name change. Would you respect that name change?
Sure.
So what would be the difference between that and a person through any reason discovering that they do not identify with their birth sex and wanting to identify by a different gender?
I don't have a problem with that at all.
Then
why
would you have an issue with identifying them as then?
Well, it's just weird too, because it's like you would think that like that argument would be like you were saying that you shouldn't use people's preferred pronouns or whatever. I don't know. I haven't heard you misgender or use like non-preferred pronouns as like some sort of attack or anything like that. Like maybe you've slipped up when it's unfamiliar language.
Yeah.
Like instead of saying they, them, you said like he or she. Fair enough. But you know, it just feels like that's where he was going with that line of
Yeah.
reasoning, and that doesn't seem to be what you're saying at all. It's like, yeah, that's fine. Just I don't like this label cis, so why are you putting it on me? And if you're saying that's the rules, then why can't somebody else put a label on somebody else?
Yeah,
It feels like
God
you're
forbid
doing.
you use the wrong term. It's like
Yeah, now you're a
insensitive
bigot.
and it's like, no, I fucking spent like 99% of the time trying to say the right words. I just don't want to have to do it all the fucking time if I don't want to have to. I don't have to read your. Somebody says it, I think later that I don't want to have to read your bio to figure out how to address you.
Yeah.
I just don't.
Well, and it's weird because Dane explained that he was insensitive before, and he did the same thing. And somebody, instead of publicly shaming him and calling him out or whatever, they did it privately and said, "Hey, I know what you were trying, but here is what would actually be correct." I don't know. It seems like he's not giving you that same charity, but somehow you're bad for this. I don't know.
You just said that you don't want to have
I'm a
to-
little bit more tolerant of a person, but if I wasn't, why should I have to? Like, why should I have to?
Because
Well,
it's the
I mean-
respectful thing to do.
I mean, because that's what bigotry is being an intolerant person. So you're saying it's not fair for somebody to be called a bigot, and yet you just said that they're not a tolerant person, and and I'm not even talking about you. You're kind of arguing in favor or on behalf of people who are being intolerant and bigoted.
Fair enough. Fair
maybe
enough.
not-
Maybe that's not
that's
not exactly what I was trying to say.
And I think that was really charitable of you to be like, okay, I can understand how you could say that. That wasn't what I was trying to say. That's awesome. I don't think he's done that same thing. Because, again, would he label himself a bigot when he used some inappropriate or not sensitive language when he was trying to defend it before and somebody sent him the email, explained it to him like in private, and he was appreciative of that? I don't know. It doesn't seem like he's calling himself a bigot then. He was just learning new information, and, it takes a while for it to necessarily hit home or whatever. He's not willing to give you that same... I don't know, charity again.
He doesn't know how to handle this situation because he's ready. He was ready for a battle. He was ready for smack me over the head. And I'm like, oh, all right, yeah, I kind of see your point. And he's like, what?
Yeah.
What?
What?
Like they don't.
Yeah.
Bob is just so fucking puzzled. Look at him. Look, you can see the steam coming out of his ears, like the engines working in there. Like, what is he thinking? Huh?
What is the bigot angle? Yeah.
Undercover bigot.
I'm not sure on this one.
It just, the point I'm trying to make is that you can't tell other people what they should think, do, or say, right? Same way I can't tell a trans person they're not trans. You can't tell me that they are. It's just, you can't have it one way for one side and another way for the other is what I'm trying to say.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to understand why it's one way for one side. And
I'd argue I don't think he's trying to understand, but the same way that like a trans person wouldn't like me calling them the gender that they don't identify as, perhaps I wouldn't prefer the label cis. I don't know. That to me seems like some sort of contradiction. You could kind of try and explain to me why it's not, but that does feel like you must accept these labels that other people identify as, but you don't get to choose your own.
You don't
that
get
seems
that. Like Bob's like, what do you mean? Like you gotta respect both sides if they think differently? It's like, what is this?
But they're bigoted.
But they're bigots.
Like what is
because some people fundamentally, according to their beliefs, religion, or just what they've grown up, the idea they've grown up with in their head, or the idea they came to as an adult, don't think it's real and don't think it's safe.
Did you,
or
I mean, there are also
people
some
don't like for their children to have these things explained. I'm sorry, I talked right over you, Bob. I'm sorry.
I was just saying, there's some people also fundamentally think the world is flat.
Yeah, those people are stupid.
And that's mostly fine because generally they don't hurt anything. Where it becomes a problem here is, I don't know if you saw earlier.
But you don't understand, like that's harmless. Like the fact that this could actually potentially make people harmed if they're put into, an inappropriate jail situation. That doesn't matter. It's harmless. Okay, like this is different. I don't know. It's just strange. Where again, I don't understand their position. I don't think it's fully fleshed out. But
I don't think they understood it until they started talking to me, and then they had to be like, "We better get a stance that makes fucking sense."
I think you did kind of help them solidify their position. But
I changed some things that go on there. You have to. I've
you are the only one who is allowed this much time. Yeah. Since then, he's advertised that he'll let people on Fridays.
No
but
one's ever been back.
I haven't seen anyone.
Has anybody?
Yeah, I think Not that I know of. There might have been like one person, but they definitely were not given as much time as you were, and he was much quicker to mute them immediately. So you ruined that privilege for everybody, sir.
I'm sorry.
I mean, I think you were watching when we talked about Brianna Gay.
Since you guys came on.
You know, and that's far from the only instance. You know, I don't know if you heard me rattle off the stats about the violence and stuff that trans people face, particularly trans women.
Stats.
What about the potential violence in jail? I don't know. Does that not matter?
That's the subject we started talking about. You can't talk about
I know,
it
but like now he's talking about like just straight up violence, and it's like, fair enough.
No,
you know,
I
that
was
does
invited
suck.
on to talk about that. We can't discuss it.
You're right. You weren't just listening. You should have. We've already been over that part.
You know, but and it's particularly trans women of color are the most like, you know, the stats there are fucking abysmal. But like,
he's bringing up stats now. If this was him and you brought it up, wouldn't he then mute you and then make you say
open about this kind of stuff? Just you say if you know a stat and you don't have to back it up, you just say it.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, that is the way that he goes. You know, he got rid of actual context for a reason. He doesn't believe in it. Yeah, let's keep going. I'm sure he's going to hold you to the same standard he holds himself to.
So, let's see.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, again, the argument made on the other side of that, you know, the suicidality rate in trans people is through the roof. Like,
right? Yeah, and you know why that is? Do you know why that is? That's what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying.
So it's a single factor, apparently. You know the one reason why it is. Okay, let's hear the one reason, and I'm sure he's going to provide the stats to prove this.
This is what I'm. Hold on, man. I'm going to have to mute you for a second because this is what I'm saying about like just you know a fact, and then without context, you think that.
I would argue that he is doing the exact same thing. He knows a fact that the suicide rate in trans people is higher than the average population, and so he is. Here's what he's going to accuse you of. I would argue that he's doing the same thing because he knows one stat. He's trying to come up with something that explains the whole thing, and he has it to a single factor. I just think that's very elementary, if you will. It's not a robust, actual, I don't know, deep dive into the issue. There would be multiple factors.
I didn't know any. I knew like some statistics I had heard probably earlier that day on the news or something. Like I wasn't like talking from a place of authority.
Well, he doesn't know either, and neither is he. He's going to look it up real quick, but yeah, he's just going to say there is one reason why trans people commit suicide. And I don't know, that just seems so simplistic, and I think it rules out so much other evidence that's
suicidality is high because, you know, in almost all of those cases, it's because their families, people around them, their culture, their community do not affirm their gender identity. And what I'm looking at right here is, you ever heard of trans-affirming healthcare?
Yes.
So it really sucks. Again, it's very much like he, again, knows one piece of information, so he's now saying that all of this is due to that one factor. So to just mention one thing, so they all kind of go with this, you know, like the Nordic model or whatever was the way to go on this. They are actually all kind of moving away from this affirmative care thing. Tavistock was one of the major clinics. If he's going to say, like, they're all going to this, well, now wouldn't you have to change that, hey, they've looked into this and it doesn't seem to be doing exactly what they're saying, and they actually fear that it might be doing more harm than good. That's why a lot of people are moving away from this affirmative or affirmation model. I don't know. It's an interesting argument, to say the least, but I don't know that it's necessarily a robust one, but he's just saying, you know, you need to affirm the gender, and that's the only way that you can go. And a lot of the professionals are going away from this model. The Europeans don't do this nearly as much. I think they're almost unanimously ruling this out.
And in both of our defenses in here, and Dane and I, and the Silent Bob, we were going off the cuff here a bit. You know, this was like,
yeah, for sure.
But he definitely spoke with a lot more authority than I felt like I did.
Or than I think anyone can. We don't know one factor that is causing everyone's suicide. Apparently,
so this is just by large, like far and away. Studies show, data shows, it's statistically proven to be the most, you know, just the best way to address trans people. And
okay, then why is that not seen in the actual data that has come since then? Why is that model being moved away from? Why do people fear that it might have been doing more harm than good and are transitioning to yet a new model? I don't know. I wish he actually would engage with some of these questions. I know he won't, but it just seems interesting to me that you know, the countries that we were all using as the model for this are now moving away from it. They're citing that you know, this doesn't seem to be doing the good that we thought it would.
It isn't working.
I don't know.
You know, like, it's not to tell them to, no, you're not trans, be the you know, the gender, whatever that we want you to. No, it's to affirm their gender. And you know, it just, there's not even any doubt that this is.
You know what he sounds like to me is like the NFT bros or whatever. It's like, no, this token is non-fungible. You don't understand. I understand. It's got affirmative in the name of this. There is the affirmation, but it doesn't seem like he's actually explaining it in a way that he understands or that any of the science. He's literally just saying, like, when you break it down, it's affirming the gender. It's like, yes, that's what the name is. Okay. I don't know. It would just be nice if he actually explained it. I feel like it's the same type of deal when I actually ask somebody to explain the non-fungible tokens. They would just say, well, tokens are fungible, but these ones are non-fungible. It's like, okay, well, here we are.
The medically, ethically, you know, just in terms of mental health way to approach it, and that it's better for everyone involved.
Can you see what is gender affirming therapy exactly?
Let's see.
See, now I wasn't being a troll
Because
here, or
I don't want to
whatever, but I was like, all right, you know what? Like, you want to be a fucking dick and pull this thing up, and you want to talk all this shit. So what is it? What the fuck is it?
You could tell in the way that he's saying he doesn't know it. Like, he's literally just saying, like, it is affirming gender. Come on.
Saying it's the healthiest, the best, it's the safest. It's the what is it? I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, he's got a robust knowledge of it. Let him explain it to you. Yeah, he's the expert.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I don't want to say the definition off the top of my head either.
You don't fucking know it.
Let's see. Well, there's a couple of man, they couldn't just put the damn definition right at the spot. I'm going to keep that open because there's a couple of.
Again, these guys understand jokes. You'll be able to tell that right away.
There, just like trans people explaining what's been for them.
I mean, it's almost like they don't want to put it right on the front page.
No, that's because I clicked on the fourth one down, man. Don't see you're being
conspiratorial. I'm joking.
Yeah, but it's not.
Yeah, but I don't have a sense of humor, so I can't accept that.
He could have laughed at that. That's funny. It's like
it's like okay, I see what you're doing there.
That's when I said it. Like, you know, like it's.
Like they didn't. Neither one of them liked it.
I also didn't Google right, so that's my own problem. All right, so what is gender affirming care? Questions answered. Here you go. It's safe to restrict certain treatments for transgender youth. Experts explain the many types of care, the need for them, and their impact. Catherine Borick, MD, has seen the gender-affirming care provided at UI Healthcare's LGBTQ clinic in Iowa City change the lives of transgender youth and adults. It decreases depression, anxiety, and suicide attempts. To her, that care is a medical necessity, like providing insulin to people. Yeah, I mean, it's the same. It's a
So apparently gender-affirming care is like insulin to people with diabetes.
Oh.
So you have it all explained to you now. You understand.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, just like that. Yeah, just like, you know, a drug that needs to be given to you daily. It's exactly like that. You know, okay.
You know, whatever the cause, it's not like a mental health issue. That's what I thought it was, by the way. And this is when I was trying to be.
Apparently that was his transgression. He thought it was a mental health thing. It's not a mental health thing. It's I guess you'd say a congruence in your body. That's all it is. It has nothing to do with mental health, even though it's your mind in the wrong body. But that's not mental.
No.
That's not mental health. No.
Supportive years ago. I was on Facebook, and I'm legit trying to understand, like, why would somebody think they're different, you know, because I didn't fucking understand anything. And this is me trying my best, but still ignorant and saying something harmful. And that's why I know it's possible. That's why I'm taking the time to talk to you now. And because I ended up on Facebook saying something like, maybe we just need to respect that trans people have some mental illness. And, you know, and it's like, that was trying to be a fucking good person. And then I get somebody messaging me saying, hey, I don't know if you know this, but that's basically what, you know, that's not even true. And she sent me some links and shit like that. And I started looking into it.
So we don't.
And realized how wrong I was.
Well, that would be nice. And I'm sure he did that same thing to you because, you know, he told you how much that meant to him and how he appreciated not being called out in front of everybody and publicly shamed. I'm sure he did that same thing for you.
Yeah. It wasn't like he was like,
yeah.
well, let me bring this guy on and hopefully he'll give me an opportunity to smack him down.
Yeah. No, that would just be wrong. Like, it seems like, you know, somebody who appreciated that Facebook message would. Yeah.
It's a good way to get people to figure out what you're talking about and really have an open mind.
Well, that is how people describe Dane.
Yeah.
Open mind.
Sorry.
Yeah.
What's
Open
up?
mouth.
I'm sorry, I thought you were done.
I was done. Yeah, go ahead.
No, so it's just all very confusing because, I'm sorry, I kind of stepped on the end of your sentence and then I kind of lost my train there.
All right. So let me just try and get to the definition here.
Well,
With apologies.
I mean, we can get to all this detail. That being said, I don't even know exactly what gender affirming care is. For me,
I mean, we could get to the details, but I don't know what it is. But all I know is we should do it. Okay,
and you should support
that's
it.
all I know.
it's
Yeah.
just simply a person wishes to. Well, I don't even ask like if they're trans or anything. A person simply tells me their name and their pronouns, and
So that would be your personal stance on somebody's preferred pronouns or name. That wouldn't be gender affirming care. Like, okay, like they still haven't asked you, would you call somebody a name when they asked you? Like they mentioned if somebody gets married, would you call them the new name? You said, yeah. Sure. Do you have any issue calling somebody by, if they want to go by like Snake or something instead of their given name? It seems like, I've actually, you call me Gray. You've never been like that. What's your given name? What is your legal name?
What's your Jesus name?
Yeah, it seems like, you would be okay with this, but they're not asking your position on it. Instead, they're just essentially like assigning you the one of, you won't do that. You're just a bigot. That really sucks. But I really can't see how he's conflating that with gender affirming care. We could talk about this information. I don't know it, but instead, let's talk about this. Like, I don't know.
What can
It's
I
strange,
pigeonhole
man.
you on?
that's it.
Yeah, I don't even
Trans or
understand.
cis doesn't even compute.
Going back to what you said a minute ago, Bob, before we get to the definition here, because yeah, I mean, I guess there's the two different things here. You said it's confusing. I don't want to overwhelm you with information. I know it's a lot. So it's kind of two different things. We're talking about, we can talk about the medical science behind it, which I don't know how best you come to your conclusions. Are you a science kind of guy? Do you need evidence to understand
Do
things?
you believe in science or just Jesus?
Or just like a strong kind of, I guess, moral argument?
I'm a little bit of both, but I do need to see.
That's fair. So what?
Fair enough. I haven't noticed like so many moral arguments from you, but that is awesome that you have the introspection that it's like, I like both. For me, I really like to see data. So I think I'd be more, science, and then I would question, why am I feeling this way? Like, this is a weird feeling. Like, we should get into them sometime, but there are like some taboo things that like, I don't know why it's wrong. I just have this moral intuition that this is wrong. But Jonathan Haidt goes through some of those. I'd like to kind of explore that with you and kind of see your
Like,
reasoning
don't touch
behind
your
it.
sister's balls.
So actually incest is one of those things, but they give you like all the caveats that like, there is protection. It's a one-time thing. Both parties are into, like, I don't know. And it's like, no, this is still wrong. Like, why is this wrong? Like, yeah. So anyway, I'd be interested in your
I would love to
thoughts
go
on
over
this.
that.
I was saying, what is really the difference between a woman changing her, or a man, they do that more often now, changing their last name to their spouse's name? And like now that's just their name, and you just accept that and you go with it, and versus a pronoun, for example. If does the woman's or the person changing their last name, does that change who they are? No. Does that change anything?
Nothing.
If then it's the same thing.
The size,
it really
size
is.
of my
Like,
bank
I mean,
account for my last wife, but besides that, nothing.
But then changing
change my
genders
address
shouldn't really change anything either.
But other than that, no.
It changes everything for them.
But I mean, this is the thing when
okay, it changes everything for them. Like, you can have that empathy and you understand that when it's coming to like the trans side, but the people who say, I don't want to be called cis, zero empathy, zero, that changes everything for them. It's no, screw you. That doesn't matter. You are this now. That's where that contradiction comes in. And I wish they would have engaged with that. I'm not sure exactly where I come down on it. Apparently I'm cis. It's just not a way that I've ever identified. So I don't know. I feel like it's a label being thrust upon me that I don't necessarily choose.
Yeah, and like stop.
I feel like they would be empathetic to that, But
yeah, and
no.
like stop also assuming people give a fuck about anything that's important to you. Like, generally speaking, we should all be good to each other and we all should be kind and supportive. But like, I don't give a Alexa, relax.
Alexa's like, what do you mean you don't give a fuck? You need to give a fuck, sir.
But no, I mean, like, I don't care what you do. Like,
yeah,
if I don't know you, you're not my direct path. I don't give a fuck about you.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I just don't.
That makes sense to me.
Like, I care generally speaking about people, but like, I don't give a fuck about the guy who lives 2 doors down or what he does.
3 doors down, though.
Yeah,
you know about that band.
That changes everything.
It changes everything. Yeah, like I could turn myself into a woman right
Yeah,
now. Yeah, for them
not change
personally,
anything
but not
for
for
you.
me, and not for science, and not
Well,
for
no, it
not
does.
for biology. You know, I mean,
Okay,
you're
so I
still-
just
you're
explained to
still
you.
a-
I just explained to
man.
you that. Hold on. I just explained to you, and you can look up the data, that the suicidality rate is directly caused by the lack of people respect.
Listen, I explained this to you. You can look up the data. I'm not going to provide it for you. I'm just going to tell you it is directly because of this one factor and this one factor alone.
What I'm saying.
Now,
but what he's saying, yeah.
you need to repeat that back to me. Okay.
Their gender identity, and
I don't know.
No, you don't need to know. You don't need to know. I'm telling you. Let me finish, because there are countless. Well, not countless, but like there's a lot of examples of kid being supported by their family in being trans, like the one we looked at. Who, like, that's why I made sure to point out that Brianna Gay, her family clearly supported her, and being trans, they were referring to her as their daughter and stuff. And she seemed like a happy kid, and that's why it's fucking it's fucked up. But like then you look at countless examples of families that deny.
He just said there weren't countless, but now he's talking about countless. So I don't know. He just contradicted himself. He said there were countless, not countless examples. There were countless examples.
Countless.
I don't know. It just seems strange that
thoughtless
he is
examples.
going to require you to provide some sort of evidence to back up your claim very
Because I
shortly.
disagree.
But he is providing none right here, other than this one case with Brianna Gay, which it's a very tragic case. That wasn't suicide because she was affirmed. It's like, okay, but that's a very strange. So again, like if you're going to go to like so if you're going to go to like, excuse me, the Dave Chappelle Daphne Dorman incident. So she kind of stood up for him. So she kept getting bashed for being like anti-trans and stuff. She ended up taking her own life. Now that would be one of the trans suicide rates, but is that because she wasn't affirmed in her life, or is it because people weren't affirming the actions that she chose in her life? I don't know. I would like to think that there are multiple choices in there, but people were calling her like anti-trans and stuff for simply supporting Chappelle. I don't know. It seems like there's always multiple factors in all of these situations. I wouldn't say that the single factor is that she was bullied online. I'm sure, she had mental health issues and stuff aside from that, for sure. So it's just, I don't know. It's crazy to reduce it down to, if they are gender affirmed by everybody in their life, it's like, well, that's
because their
probably
parents
not
were
gonna happen.
Nazis.
I know I have not been gender affirmed by everyone in my life. People have walked into like the locker room and been like, ladies, like, I don't know, for him to say that the only reason why somebody would commit suicide is because they didn't have gender affirmation from their parents, their siblings, their peers, the outside world. I don't know. I think that's too big of an ask. Like, you're going to have somebody misgender you at some point, I'm sure, or not affirm your gender. I don't know. It just seems very strange, but he's going to go even worse, and you're going to feel the wrath of him very soon.
The gender identity of a kid, or even an adult who transitions, and not having that support. It's basically like anything else. And if you don't have the basic respect of your family or society, you're probably going to be more inclined to, get into a negative mental health space, which could lead to suicide. It's really not any different from any other
How'd it
thing.
work out for you, Dave?
Yeah, you're 100% right. And then I would say about half that number of people had really supportive families who were affirming their surgery, and they still killed themselves.
So you said about half. Like, okay, so now he's going to be super charitable and ask you, like, what do you mean? Where did that number come from? And I'm sure he's going to be super calm about it. This is the way to engage somebody. I'm sure he's going to be an example. He's really going to show us how it should be done.
Ambassadorship.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what was that? What information did you just say? Can you back that up?
Sure. I'm saying that for every trans person that was not affirmed and killed himself for that reason, there's still a trans person that killed himself.
All right, so you just made a claim here. I'm going to look that up. I muted you because I don't allow misinformation. I'm pretty sure that's not true.
I didn't even finish my fucking sentence.
Well, he knew where you were going with it, and that would be misinformation. So he's muting you.
Yeah, I was
He can't
about
let
to say
you
that
actually explain what you were saying.
For every person that you could say that killed themselves because they weren't affirmed, I'm sure there's one that killed themselves for a completely different fucking reason.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of different reasons.
It's a high suicidality.
Could you
It's,
imagine?
like, ridiculous. You could assume that it's just that. It's crazy. Like, the suicidality is the problem, not like parents not affirming kids.
I completely agree with you. I think just reducing every suicide down to one factor and making it so he also mentioned that like everyone in the community has to like accept the person. It's like, I think that's something that you couldn't get everyone to do.
Can anybody
no matter
do that with
what.
a straight person, like or a
Yeah,
cis
that's
heteronormative male? Like you can't get it done. Nobody's accepting everybody. Sorry.
Yeah, that's my entire point. So it's like, okay, but we could look into each one of these and find out if there are other factors as well, and possibly look into that, and maybe we could reduce a whole bunch of risks.
Like not speaking ill of the dead, but maybe they were an asshole, or maybe they had a severe drug problem. You know what I mean? Like.
Correct. Yeah, like there's a bunch of different factors. I just can't see this single factor analysis being the end all be all for it. But I'm sure he's going to actually find some data. Well, he told you you must provide it. I'm sure he'll find that because it's readily available. I mean, he keeps citing that it's the only reason that it would happen. So I'm sure he actually has this bookmarked somewhere.
This was my first mute from him, though. Well, it wasn't my first block, but it's my first mute.
It's weird that you would have that information, like on the, just off the top of your head.
Here goes the conspiracy, Brian.
But
Glenn Beck told me.
There's a lot of other stuff that you seem to. What's this? Okay.
There's a lot of other stuff you seem.
Oh, what's this? What's this?
So that right there,
Mr. Beck,
Patrick,
he's on to us
that you
again.
said that kind of tips me the other way in terms of what I think about your takes here. I'm gonna unmute you. Just.
It's like I don't like you.
I want you to understand.
And that did say in youths, which kind of specifies an age range. So what is it in later life? Could it be 50-50? Like, could that extra... So this is said 73% reduction. So you said possibly 50. It could be. Like, it would be nice to, like, look into that data or something. But, again, I'm not sure that a single factor would, be the only difference. With something as personal as, like, again, suicide, do you know that one thing is going to prevent other people when... each individual thing is so personal and like your own individual mental health. Like, I don't know.
It's funny because this is like,
it just seems strange.
I challenge him throughout, but like, this is the first time I'm like, well, I don't think so because maybe, and it's mute. And now I've changed my opinion of you completely because you may not agree with everything I'm saying and just take it up the booty hole.
It's weird that you just made that claim with those specific numbers as if you are an expert when you were just spent, I don't know, the last 10-15 minutes saying how you don't know much. Okay, let's see. New study finds that access to gender-affirming hormones during adolescence is associated with better mental health outcomes among trans adults. So that's another thing. That's another.
I'm sure that's exactly what you were muted for, was that it helps with mental health. Like, okay, I could see how that would help with mental health. Does that prevent suicide, though? It seems like it's two different claims, and he doesn't have the information, but you're getting lambasted for not having it readily available. I don't know. It just seems strange to me. I don't know.
Wrinkle to it, right? Is that if a kid is forced to wait until they're an adult, that has you can have a negative influence on how well even having trans affirming care afterward helps. That's why it's important that if a teenager is expressing that they're trans, and
up
there's a lot of misconceptions, by the way, about this. That
More
like,
than
if a kid just says, "I think I'm the other gender," and then you take them to the doctor goes, "Yep, they're the other gender. Let's make them that gender now." Like, that's not what happens.
No shit.
But, I mean, are you saying that that's never what happens?
Not those three sentences together, but clearly, like.
Well, there are quite a few cases that's been what's claimed, and I don't think anyone's claiming that this is what always happens and that this is like a huge epidemic. I think we're concerned about, hey, this is really horrible. Maybe we shouldn't set something in place where that could happen. And I think that's one of the reasons why they're kind of changing from that model. It doesn't take into account the desistance rate. It seems like actually puberty itself gets a lot of people to kind of desist from this gender dysphoria type deal. I don't know. They definitely thought that this was the better way before, but it seems like they might have realized that wasn't necessarily the case. Perhaps he needs to do some more research into this and maybe look at like the Tavistock Clinic, for instance. But let's let him keep going because he is the expert on this. You are not. You don't have the data. So
I can't have
a lot of people want to make it out to be that way. It's a whole process and a whole fucking before there's ever even any chemicals or puberty blockers or anything. There's a lot of shit that takes place, and it's not taken lightly. It's just not. And then you got people like Matt Walsh. I don't know if you've been listening to him or something, but he pulls statistics out of his ass. That's why I was
just
really
Glenn Beck. No Matt Walsh.
defensive about you just saying.
You mentioned it earlier. It's like, and I'm not like Matt Walsh. I'm not trying to say what's a woman, but I don't know. I think you primed him to think that you are a Matt Walsh fan.
I'm not.
I don't know. Yeah,
I like some of the stuff.
It's hard to be.
I like one or two of his some things. I like the What Is a Woman documentary. I thought it was good. I thought it was really informative. I don't know if I agreed with everything in it, but I thought it was a more open look than we've been allowed to take at these things.
For sure.
The other side
I think it was definitely very curated. Yeah. But I don't know. I've just disagreed with a lot of what he has to say. He seems to have some, yeah, for sure. So, yeah, I like certain ideas that he has, but yeah, I do not support that guy. But yeah, interesting fella.
And do you have where you can tell me the link, the source of that information you just said?
No, I don't have it offhand, but I mean, I wasn't citing a statistic. I was basing it on what you said. You said that 50% or 40 to 50% of trans kids kill themselves because they're not affirmed. And I said that the argument.
I didn't say that. I didn't use any specific numbers.
He said
I didn't.
all the kids that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Then maybe I misunderstood, but it's.
He said that there was a single factor that prevented everyone from not doing that.
I did not say back what he said. So fair enough there.
No, fair enough. But you know, I could see a misinterpretation of it. It seems like you were trying to understand, and
I was trying to say
still, I don't feel like he's giving.
But it wasn't coming out right.
Well, I don't feel like he's giving you the same charity that you tried to give him when you tried to explain, here's where I got it from. Perhaps I didn't have the number that you said correct, but it seems like there would be some percentage that are still doing it even without, or even with the affirming care.
No
so
there
that doesn't seem to be the single factor.
I told you it said that 40 to 50% of trans youth kill themselves because.
No, I would not rattle off any percentage unless I had the information.
All right, then I misunderstood when you said 40%. It must have been attributed to something else.
Yeah,
that was very charitable of you to admit that. Like, okay, I misinterpreted.
Fair enough.
Let's see.
And I do know. I'm not saying that I don't know about these things. I'm saying that it's not an easy thing for people to understand, and it's not easy for people to.
Man, look, I get it. I'm
not living in a bubble. I've heard things. I know who Matt Walsh is, obviously. I mean,
I'm only saying that that if you know that it's okay to not know everything. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But it's also wise.
Not okay to disagree. You cannot know everything, but once I tell you, you must accept it. No question.
Do you care about human beings? Do you care about people even if you don't know them, even if you don't agree with them?
Do you care about human beings?
I didn't catch that he said Hugh Beans instead of human beings. Otherwise, I would have laughed right in his face.
So, are you saying you don't care about Hugh Beans?
Dislike Hugh Beings.
Wow. Confessions.
Listen, do you care that people generally are not harmed and living miserable lives?
Of course. Yeah.
What if it might harm people more if we affirm them when they might desist based off of puberty? I don't know. It seems like that could be explored. Could that not be somebody caring about human beings? I don't know. It just, I don't like the way that he's framing this. It seems like either you're a monster or you believe what he
Exactly.
believes.
It's like you want to kill people and you hope people suffer. Yeah, is that it? No. Then you believe what I believe.
Yeah, I mean, it's the only way.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then the humane thing, the humanitarian thing, the decent.
Oh, you're not humane now.
Just,
you're not humanitarian.
Don't have
the ethical thing. You're also not ethical. You're not humane. You're not a good person because you don't agree with him. Yeah, you're just devilishly handsome, but that comes from the devil. Yeah. So it
start
makes
making
sense.
claims about shit, and in chats of streams or whatever it is. If you care about the issue, opening your ears and shutting your mouth is the way to care about it.
I agree.
Okay.
On
you can care in one way.
And I think the thing that you're missing is that both sides seem to think that they're protecting someone, and that's what everybody's missing. Everybody does have good intention.
Great point. Can he see that empathy that the other side thinks that they might be protecting children as well?
Bigots.
I don't think he does see that. It's great that you can see his argument and you can also see the other side, which isn't necessarily the argument that you're making. But I don't know. It would be nice if he brought some charity to this.
It's the transphobes or the anti-trans or, I don't really know what J.K. Rowling did. I don't know what she said. But like, if it's those type of people, they're not coming from a bad place. They think that they're doing the right thing.
So I said earlier, so I get it. So I said earlier that the thing that I care about is the effect, not intentions. People can have, you've heard the saying.
Bad saying. Intentions matter, sir. It can't just be the effect. Like, I didn't mean to step on your toe. Well, the effect is you have assaulted me. You broke my toe. Like, I don't know. Intentions do matter. You have to give someone some leniency, some bit of charity.
Yeah,
but they don't seem to want to do
things. If it, you know what I mean? If
there is no forgiveness. You can never atone. You have ruined this. I don't know. I don't think they believe in forgiveness. That is something that's beyond them.
The road to hell is paved with good intentions, right?
Right.
Oh, okay. Well, that explains it. He doesn't have to ever understand intentions because there is a saying, Fair enough.
That's an old adage.
Okay. The age of the adage. That's why it's okay.
And it's true. You can have the best intentions in the world, and things can not turn out well. And so what we have to look to is data and evidence. And what evidence
Data
is
from
J.K.
Star Trek?
Rowling presenting?
No, he has so much data. He is yes, data made him not racist from Star Trek: The Next Generation. But what evidence has apparently he's going to say J.K. Rowling given? But what evidence has Dane given? I've seen nothing so far. He does have that thing that said 73% of youth are less suicidal with the affirmation. That sounds positive, but you'd kind of want to look into that a little bit more and find out why it's just those age ranges. Is it just during a specific age range? Maybe then the treatment should only affirm it during a certain age range. I don't know. There are additional information you want to get from just that, not that single
because
factor.
their parents were bastards.
That makes sense.
That shows a clear correlation between anything. Really nothing. The studies that she has shared have been proven that to be kind of like.
Has he shown studies that have a clear correlation? I don't know. Correlation does not equal causation. He would need to actually show that that is the cause. Just because he thinks that it's correlated, I don't know. It's weird the standards that he has. But yeah, he again will not provide any of that. But J.K. Rowling has to prove everything. I don't know.
Intentionally disinformation type things that have been put out there and debunked. And that's sad. That's the world we live in, where the internet is often manipulated that way. And you just kind of have to learn how to look at evidence. And even if you think that, yeah, I don't know, man. It's just, to me, it seems like the ethical thing is to err on the side of caution rather than just going out there and becoming a
That's what Dane does. He errs on the side of caution. Very.
Some advocate against trans people or doubting their whatever. Like,
yeah, because that's what you do. You're an advocate against trans people. It's not just you're saying, I don't understand this. What do you mean by that? Like the Blues Brothers.
What have you lost? What information do you have that shows that their existence is somehow threatening you or somebody you care about or whatever? If you want to say like J.K. Rowling often does, aside from the prison issue, she just kind of has said before that like it's basically just men wanting to get into women's bathrooms and actually assault women or whatever. And it's like, what has stopped them from that prior?
The social norms. Like, I mean, I'm guessing everything that hasn't said that this is acceptable.
Safe spaces.
But what you're going to mention here would be, it just makes it more of an opportunity, which it seems like that would make it more convenient. What has stopped every other pervert from like jumping into like those outhouses or whatever? Probably the fact that it's, not their preference and that it would be difficult and disgusting. But there are some that do it. If I'm just saying, like, it seems weird. Like, we know that people have done stuff like this when they didn't have the opportunity to just make it so much more of an opportunity. It just seems like you're kind of begging for certain types of trouble. Yeah. So maybe there's a way that we could make that more safe. I'm not exactly sure how to do that, but I don't think you just turn a blind eye to it.
No, you do.
I don't know. Okay, I'm sorry. I will listen and believe.
What would stop, prior to any of this, a man from, if he wanted to rape some woman, put on a dress and go in like that? It just doesn't happen.
Access, I guess, like just easy access.
But if it's a trans woman or a man that dresses effectively looking like a woman, and like there's no logic to it.
What is the difference? There is no
logic
difference.
Is always there, and it's also the same logic as
Bob made a noise.
Gun advocates, people who are like really defensive about any kind of gun legislation. Well, if somebody wants to kill somebody, then they're gonna with a gun. They're gonna kill. They're gonna do it with whatever. It's like the same thing. There are shitty people that are gonna do shitty things, and this is not one of the ways that is going to. It's not a problem that happens so often that we need to account for in that way, and it's definitely not a problem that we can solve.
It's not a problem
because the cure.
We're never
going to
solve it. Okay.
The symptoms, so to speak. But yeah, that'll be it. I'll leave some links if you want. What's up?
What's that saying? It's the unstoppable force versus the immovable object.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what the two sides are here. I just wish that we could all just stop,
right? Yeah.
Assigning like bigot, racist.
Well, look, we talked about yesterday that unfortunately the social media and the discourse online has just become. It's just what it is online. I would just urge everybody to try to be better than the shit that you think is absurd, whether it's your side or the other side or whatever side. It gets ridiculous. I can acknowledge that. But this is a good point right here. Think about that. If becoming trans, taking a bunch of chemicals and changing your entire life and how people see you just so you can go in women's bathrooms. And like
That's a lot. Yeah. Then go in, you earned it.
It's the same thing as sports, the sports thing, right?
Again, no sense of humor. We will not laugh. We don't understand. Okay, he thinks they've earned it in that situation.
Like it just doesn't happen to a degree where like there's no men that are going, I suck at sports, the sport. Maybe if I was a woman.
There's no men that are doing that.
Pretty blank
I don't know.
Woman, I can do better, and then they transition, and because the fact is, you look. What's up?
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I keep.
No, that was it.
It's a
That was
habit.
it.
I work.
I do it too, man.
Patrick, I was just gonna say, if you're just a if you're just a cisgendered person, the easiest way to handle this is if somebody tells you their name and their pronouns, just respect that.
Yeah,
that's all they're asking for at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I agree.
That's true. And I apologize for overwhelming you with information. It's important to me. It's personally important to me.
I agree. I just would like for, what I really appreciate about both of you is that you guys have actually. I don't agree with everything you guys say, whether it be on media or otherwise, but I do agree with some of it, and I appreciate the fact that you guys do actually take the time to respond and to say, all right, maybe this guy's not a total troll. Let's.
Well, thanks to you, they no longer do this. They did this one time and never again.
I thought this was a regular thing.
Never again. Yeah. No, if it was, that would make sense. But no, they did this one time and never again. But let's let you keep praising them. This seems like honest, actual praise for, hey, you didn't have to let me on. This is really cool. I think it's really big of you. And let's see exactly how they take this. Because I think Dane's response to this, just outpouring of gratitude and acknowledgement of what's going on here. Let's see how he responds to it. I think he responds as appropriately as possible.
Get a little, back and forth going and try to get somewhere with this. And I mean, maybe somebody else will watch it. It'll change their opinion. I don't, but I have to say,
it's changed my opinion.
That about you guys, your willingness. It's something that I don't think a lot of the other YouTubers and even the guys that you don't like so much out there, I don't think they give people the opportunity that you two have. So I want to say I appreciate that.
I mean, I'm glad, man. I do try to. It's really hard to apply nuance to these things, just because of how deep the line in the sand is in a lot of examples. And I get people, probably got trans people that are watching now, thinking they can't even believe I'm entertaining talking to you, and maybe I shouldn't be. I don't know, but I.
Thank you for allowing me on. Well, there's probably some trans people out there who think I shouldn't have, and maybe I shouldn't have.
And I shouldn't have.
Yeah, that's generally what I say. If somebody says to me, thank you for allowing me on your show, I just say, maybe I shouldn't have.
Yeah. Because of what other people think.
Yeah, it matters. But audience capture, that's not a thing at all.
Try to have a mind for the fact that it's hard for me to imagine that people that are online making claims about a topic haven't already got their minds made up. It's hard for me to think that because I know personally I don't tend to talk about stuff if I don't really have some, level of understanding or.
I disagree. Hard disagree that you don't tend to talk about things unless you have a hard understanding of it.
The last hour
you don't understand.
Would beg to differ.
Yeah, and pretty much any other hour that you could catch of his show. Again, he'll tell you that he understands it and he has all the proof in a previous video that's privated that you'll never be able to see, but he's totally made his point. Just trust him now. That's kind of his go-to. It's just not the case. Yes, I don't think he understands quite a bit, but he does make hard stances based off of that. Almost finished here.
Understand it, but it happens, and and I know that expressing some kind of question about things you don't understand in certain spaces, especially this type of topic, you can get people assuming that you are being bad faith or a troll or whatever, because it happens a lot, and unfortunately for other people, the trolls and dickheads like that make it hard for guys like you seem to be that's genuinely asking questions.
There's
and
a little bit of a compliment.
Ultimately,
you said you're genuine.
Respect for coming on and listening, and
Hey, he has respect for you. You came on, you listened. Okay, this seems like you both made headway. You both said positive things. I'm sure this is a happy
hopefully
ending,
you can hang around and listen to more in the future.
Hey, he wants you to hang around and listen in the future.
I think I'll have to go and block you
and
because
you
I just got kind of pissed at that last thing.
Well, Lucifer, I've actually had lunch with trans people before. I had lunch with a trans person every day for 2 years. I had no idea that she was trans.
I mean, that's awesome. And it's something that these guys don't get. Clearly you can't have a differing opinion. You must just have it. No, I got some
I
questions.
mean, once I found out, I found out she was trans, I never had lunch with her again. I'm just saying.
I assume so. I mean, that's why I said ew. Like, of course. No, I mean, like, that would be ridiculous. Come on, we're not bigots. These are jokes. I know that they don't understand that, and they're probably going to use those clips out of context. But, you know, it just kind of shows. You know, I'm pretty sure a trans person wouldn't think that you know, they can't possibly joke about anything. I'm sure they have senses of humor. They're really tough people.
Yeah.
You know, they've gone through a lot. But yeah, I just can't get over like the bigoted close-mindedness of you know, you would get it if you just talked to a trans person. Not you could have a different opinion. I guess I just don't understand
trans
that.
People carry the secret once they've gone to the LGBTQ plus. They get you're imbued with knowledge of all trans issues and trans people just because you're trans yourself. It's just an automatic.
Well, they're a monolith. You know, they have one opinion, and that's it. Once you transition to that opinion, and then you have that opinion. And that's it.
Your first session.
Blair White. She doesn't count. She does not count.
But at your first session of gender affirming surgery, you get the matrix hookup, where you get the knowledge of all trans issues and feelings, and everything is just uniform. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of trying to make a point, like, and I don't articulate well in comment sections, so
nobody does.
Yeah, I was trying to just make the point of like that it's just such a difficult thing, whether it's prisons or sports or anything else, because it's difficult. So that's what I was making. Like, what do we do? Put them in their own prison? Like, obviously we can't do that. But like,
I mean, okay,
it's so new and so complicated.
I think the general lesson I think we could take from it is that when it's a hot button issue that affects people's lives, I think it's important that we all just kind of
talk about it.
First of all, listen to the people whose lives are being affected, and if we're not those people, I don't know, maybe understand that our opinion on it, especially if it's uninformed, is not necessarily warranted at the time when the person whose life is affected is, or the more informed person is talking about it. I'm not trying to, I don't know. Wasn't half expecting to talk about this today, so I apologize if I'm not having.
But I'm sure you were. That's why you came with your many charts and graphs and data. If you
wouldn't let me use all my posters that I had set up in the background. He's like, take them down. We're not continuing the stream.
He should have let you share your PowerPoint presentation at least. You had some good clip art in there.
I was like, Exhibit A, vagina.
Yeah, and I mean, I just like to say too, by that logic though, the people that opinions, let's say, aren't warranted, I think the people with the warranted opinions need to start understanding a little bit that it doesn't all come from a place of hate. I mean, you guys don't know me. Your comment section doesn't know me. I'm not a bigot. I'm a nice guy. I'm a good father. I take care of people and I'm involved in my community, and I don't treat people differently based on any immutable characteristics. I just live my life and want people to do the same, and respect me as much as I respect them.
Just to be clear, in particular, in I don't know if you're on my channel or we're watching on mine or Bob's, but generally if you're in the Fandom Initiative kind of circle, you are around a lot of people who are either very respectful and understanding of trans issues or LGBT issues, or are themselves trans or LGBT. And so just, what you might say in some, other place, I would just consider that there's probably some people that even just a kind of offhanded comment might, I don't know, make it seem like a dick to them,
So this is a very closed-minded space, okay? There is one acceptable opinion. Yeah. Just keep that in mind. Would be another way of saying that.
Learn the language.
So would he give like the same type of charity to like a right-wing site that like, listen, that's a place that is favorable to one type of point of view, okay? It's not hateful, it's not bigoted. They're favorable to one point. I think that's a charity that only goes one way with him. And that's, I just don't think that's fair. But we're just about finished here.
I've done personally a lot of work to cultivate an audience in a place where these people that are not welcome in other parts of fandom spaces, right? They feel welcome here, and I try to honor that and protect that. So,
well, I wanted to dip my toe over into the other end of the EFAP.
Dipped your toe into his end.
And I have to say, I'm not like completely put off by you guys. I kind of like you.
Tomorrow, man, we're doing I don't know if I guess you heard. Tomorrow we're having our buddy Ed, Pop Counterculture, is debating an EFAP fan.
I saw
which
that.
I'm looking forward to it personally. So, yeah.
Oh, and just one more thing
that
that everybody kind of forgot last night.
So I think that guy canceled,
right.
and then I think
Matt stepped
they
in.
didn't have that for a while. So
man, the
instead,
myth, the
they were going to
legend.
do the Rags doxing stream, and then instead that became Tiamat's thing. So he was the next guy that he debated, but it was weirder than that even. Like
Tiamat was not the EFAP fan. He was just he was just ready to kick some ass.
And that's where we first met that dude. Is we just saw that, and then we were going to be talking about. I think it was you getting blocked in Ed's thing. So that was our first introduction to Tiamat, and awesome guy. Enjoy the D-Lord. Yeah, forged through blockage. Well, that sounds more like Dane's love life. There's got to be a better way to phrase that. Let's keep going.
The MCU thing. The reason they call it, everyone's calling it MCU. You know that, right?
So this is where the bigotry comes from. You just lob this grenade right as you're out the door. Like, hey guys, Cat.
MCU, gotta go.
Because every MCU character has gotten a female counterpart. That's where the MCU came from. Not every single solitary one. And I don't care if they're comic accurate. I'm not even arguing the semantics of it. I'm just saying that's why people are saying MCU.
No, but have you considered boo women?
Yeah.
I think that's actually why they're
characters
saying
existed in the comics.
Yeah, no, totally, they did, but they didn't exist in like mainstream media to normies, and I think that's why it's like, oh, MCU.
Well, so, but what's interesting about that is that the guy who kind of created and propagated that term MCU, he used to own a comic book shop. He knows this about the comics. It's kind of.
Does that change the fact that it's changing, so people are giving it that label? Like, I don't know. Even if he knew that the comics did that, does that change the fact that they're calling this particular thing MCU because mostly females are now leading these things? I don't know. It just seems interesting
I
to
was
me.
just telling them why people are saying it.
Yeah, for sure.
Like
And it doesn't seem like they're going to accept that. Later they talk to Sitch and Adam, and then I talk to them, and again, it's just boo women. Yeah. That's the only reason. They hate women.
It's weird that same guy that I think he's supposed to be a comics expert or whatever. I'd love to challenge him on that.
Sure.
But like that he would suddenly make a big deal out of it being in a movie. So it's just a weird association to make. It's weird, and it's also weird that anytime there's some.
It's weird.
And by the way, they talked about he said that about Black Widow. Black Widow has always been a woman in the comics and the movies. Yeah. There's other examples that don't.
No, she's just part of the MCU. Like they replaced her with her. I can't remember the character's name, but it's just that it's being replaced by a woman. It doesn't matter that it was a woman before. That's again part of this whole thing where like these characters are being replaced by a woman lead. I don't know. I could understand including her in the MCU because again, this character that you know from the comics is again being replaced with a new one.
They had to get a less attractive woman to replace her.
I agree with you. I'm a big ScarJo fan.
Yeah, same.
Yeah,
I can understand. I guess that it would be like, oh, noticeable, but it's not even new. There's been going back to the original Captain Marvel, who's now Shazam. There was Mary Marvel, and like there's just Supergirl. There's no, it's not new.
I was out.
A woman version.
Now I'm getting another lecture.
So it's weird to make a big deal out of it now. Is all I'm saying. But thanks, man.
No problem. You guys really cool. And I
shut up, Whitney.
You see, now you were sexist. You just insulted everybody by saying like, but you guys keep saying that they just hate women, and that's not necessarily what it is. They're just noticing this thing, so they've given it this label. But okay, yeah, but that's insulting. How dare you try to explain that to him?
Anyone I talk to in comment sections over in EFAP from Rags channel, I'll tell them come on over and check you guys out. Give me a fair shake.
Oh, they know about me.
Give you a fair
They know about Bob for sure. But
everybody knows about Bob. All right, man. Have a good one, fellas. Good talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Oh, I guess that counts. 18.
He came over to talk to us.
No, it's not. It's not, Patrick. That's not something I would view as racist. That's not. Anybody that's fucking making that claim is being a disingenuous piece of shit. And I've seen people say this on Twitter as well, that like, oh no, they don't think he's being racist. They're just pointing out that he's always saying, things that people could consider racist and pointing it out like it's just, hypocritical. No, I'm not. Show me where I've ever said anything about something that isn't explicitly racist, and I said that it was. Maybe there's some example of me saying, that might be, that's kind of close to race, you know what I mean, or something like that. But I've never, the things that I've called racist are racist. Like
it's so satisfying. It's so satisfying.
Yeah, especially when you see what and who he calls racist, like immediately.
Racist.
Okay,
I'm not
sure.
If you want to say that person is racist because they said racist things, whatever. My thing is, I'm typically talking about this idea is racist. This narrative is racist.
Sure, that's what he does when he literally calls you out by name. He's just talking about this idea, this narrative is racist and bigoted.
Has a racist effect on the people that, when I saw somebody ask a minute ago, like, is being inflammatory the same as being racist? Like, I think that's a stupid way to understand this.
The two aren't mutually exclusive. I mean,
it doesn't matter. I mean, you say intent is what matters, right? I mean, maybe you meant something different. Like, I say effect is what matters. It doesn't matter if
you're an idiot.
If my intent is to normalize the N-word so that it's not a big deal anymore, and I go around saying it 50 times a day, and yet it's still harming people when the people that hear it are like, oh, that's fucking, because of all the negative associations historically with it.
For a second.
Very negative. The effect is the effect, and I think that's generally what I care about. Road to hell is paved with good intentions and whatnot.
It is a saying.
Maybe not intent, emotion behind.
Come on, Charles, that's intent.
Like
but it's like,
wait, somebody just said the opposite of what Dane said. Wow, this is interesting. But Charles is making a point.
I'm shocked this guy doesn't remember anymore. Or is he?
Wow, this might have been the last straw.
If I called you a flubarb, that more means nothing to you.
Right.
But in my head, I just really said something nasty about you, and that's my intent was to say something really nasty about you. And you don't know that. We only recognize these words. So I would argue that the intent, if you're saying something to specifically hurt somebody or a group of people, then you're specifically being some form of ist. If you're
I
mean, but I guess I just don't. I'm not as worried about the.
He's like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
That was too well thought out.
Is there a difference between, like rapping along with a song or like you see somebody of a different race and you literally call them a slur? Like, I feel like there is a difference in intent.
What if you
like, are
rap
you thinking
a song at them and there's a slur?
Well, then your intent is completely different. You were just trying to impress them. Like, hey guys, look at what I can do. So I don't know. I couldn't agree with Charles more, and again, I feel like such an ass that I was so unwilling to see like what he kind of brought to this thing. Yeah, I can't. I spent too much time in Canada. I'm sorry about it. But just no, that intent argument, like it just means so much. You're right. Like I would have to think that you can't just call someone a bigot for saying something one time, especially if they didn't know. Like I could see an older person like. Maybe they don't know that person of color is like the current vernacular and say they just, switch the order in two of those words. Now, are they forever a bigot or were they just, not necessarily up on the lingo? I couldn't agree with what Charles is saying more. I just think the intent is what really matters there. And if somebody's saying something hateful, know it. It comes off so much different.
And it's like, DJ Eric also seems to look like he's about to bust into a rap battle himself, so maybe he has some slurs for us. Isn't he? It looks like he's at the Run DMC, like.
Yeah, that's true. He does have so much attitude.
Drop lyrics.
I gotta dig the non-colored beard. It does give him a little bit more authority when he has the cross-arm thing. So I actually didn't think about it till you kind of just mentioned it, but I remember in high school, I had a whole bunch of people think that I was yelling a bunch of slurs at this person when I was playing lacrosse. I think it's one of the reasons why I think intentionality really matters. It's not just what somebody thinks the intention is. So we had a kid on our team named Negus was his last name. And I remember I kept yelling at him like, Negus, like pass me the ball or whatever. So I come from a place where there aren't a lot of people of color who played lacrosse here, but the opposing team happened to have one person on it. So I didn't give any thought to it. Like I'm just calling out to my buddy. We all used our last names on it. It's just what you refer to each other. It's what's on your jersey. So finally somebody on their team comes up like right near the end of the game and is like, you've got to quit calling him that. I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, you just keep doing that. That is like so beyond the line. It's like, what are you talking about? And then I realized it clicked to me. I was like, you realize that guy with the ball right now, his name is Negus. That's what I'm saying. He's like, oh, and then I watched him like run over to the sideline, like tell them. And like, you just saw like the entire like tension drop on that side. I would hate to think that, people wouldn't want an explanation, some sort of what is the intention behind this.
Totally.
I can totally see that they would think that I was just like antagonizing them the entire game. It really is bad, but like it kind of, you need to know that intentionality. Perhaps somebody is saying something that's offensive that they didn't know was offensive.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I think you could try and figure that out. I think a lot of the times you can tell if there is hatred, that would be an intention. But again, going back to that mind reading thing, you don't necessarily know.
It's like my neighbors, right?
Mm-hmm.
George and Henry, and they, you know, they're good people, they're good shits. And I was saying about, you know, how they throw a lot of parties, and the neighborhood's kind of gone a little bit down since they moved in next door. And it, you know, I was talking to my other neighbor, and you know, we all usually refer to each other by last name, and I'm like, you know, the neighborhood's gone to shit since the blacks moved in, and and somebody overheard it, and they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, the blacks, the whole neighborhood's gone to shit. The blacks are leaving their garbage all over the place. The blacks are loud. They're up all night. The blacks are screaming. The blacks are having kids left and right. Everybody took it the wrong way. You know, George and Henry Black.
Yeah, I could kind of understand why they might interpret that one differently.
I don't know.
Mine, you know, I was like on a field yelling. I could also understand why they misheard me. But yeah, you know, I'm certainly glad that somebody asked you, what do you mean? And then you were able to kind of explain it and kind of realize like, oh, no. Thank you for not assuming my intentionality there. That's why intentionality matters.
And that guy,
you could be wrong. You could be misinterpreting
the guy
it.
behind me was like, oh, I thought you meant the spooks. And I'm like, no, they live 3 doors down on the left.
Whoa,
They live 3
buddy.
doors down on the left. That's, you know, Sally and Jimmy Spooks.
You do have a diverse neighborhood that you live in. No, you know, it's a good place. Sorry,
I don't know, I just don't. I think that at a certain point, like the.
Yeah,
I don't know.
because it's possible you could look at all these Phantom Menace guys and like they could be like, oh, you know, our intent isn't to actually segregate these people. Our intent isn't to like filter out these people. Our intent is, you know, probably just make money or some shit like that.
I just want to let you know, Charles, this patch.
You could look at it that way. Now he needs to break into Charles's intent argument to let him know something. Again, keep in mind his previous claims that he would never call people racist. He would never call anything racist that wasn't demonstrably racist. But
this is what, like the following day, I think.
Oh yeah, sorry if I didn't make that clear. This is the next stream that they did. So I think that one was a Wednesday stream. I think this is the next initiative Wednesday stream. He might have had like one more stream in between, but you weren't on that, and we don't have any clips of it. Like you weren't commenting on it or anything like this. This is the next stream that you commented on. Again, this was like a full stream, so I didn't grab every time you had a comment in there.
There's a ton.
But you were blocked, so you did have to come back in a different way. Apparently, that rubbed him the wrong way. So yeah,
Sure guy who is
Even without the intent,
sure a troll and a racist and a bigot that's been trolling my chat for a couple of days now is using your
Wow. So again, that was you that he was referring to, this troll and racist and bigot who's just been trolling his chat for days.
Call me racist.
So apparently what you were doing in the previous stream was trolling his chat, and then what you did in this stream is trolling the chat, asking him like, hey, what the hell? We had a conversation. Now you're calling me racist. What the hell? That doesn't seem like trolling to me, but apparently not accepting this label that he put on you, that he would never call a person, that he usually only calls actions or whatever. Yeah,
Mind you, we've
that's
never
trolling.
spoken about race.
Yeah, that's true. We went through that entire conversation. I don't remember it coming up, except for when you did say that that black fella, meaning Eric July, because you couldn't think of his name. Apparently, if you had called him Derek August, that would have been fine. But
I was like, that
since you said
Negro.
black fella, yeah, it wasn't like you went that route. So yeah, it rubs me a little wrong. But yeah, I think there's like 2 more comments here, and then we're almost out of here.
Well, it also needs to be said that I'm a professional comedian, and
that you are,
R-rated
sir. Sorry for saying you
adult
weren't.
humor is what I specialize in, and there's certain clubs where
Gross.
they have a blacklist of words that you can and cannot, or a blacklist of words you can't say. And as an R-rated comedian, it's I mean the pouch. The C word pouch that I said before, I wouldn't be able to do that in some clubs, and I don't.
It is kind of a funny bit. I didn't include it in here, but it was Charles did much better on this. Unfortunately, the whole stream is gone. But he was talking about how fanny is actually a different word in the UK.
yeah.
So saying fanny pack actually would be akin to us saying C word pouch here. Fair enough. Yeah.
Mean anything by that? I'm talking about a bag where you store your wallet. It has nothing to do
Same
with
thing.
Yeah,
whatever.
I mean, you've never heard of a prison
It
wallet?
wasn't established, Charles. I didn't finish sending my email to you, but like, no, I hadn't seen any real
Wait, does he know that your name is Charles? He just said it wasn't
evidence
established,
that
Charles.
you had actually absorbed anything we
He just
talked about on
doxed
stream the
you.
other day. I was still at a neutral judgment position.
It is that same
on
guy.
that.
Though, right?
Yeah,
Is-
and I was at a neutral position in judging whether.
Oh, he was at a neutral position in judging whether you were, honest or a troll the
That's
other
fucking
day. But
neutral,
now he
Jesus.
has He has decided. Hey, but remember what he said before. There is no neutral. Not being anti-fascist means you are pro-fascist. So there is no neutral. So he was not really anti-you. There is no neutral. So he was always pro. You're a troll.
Not you were good faith or what. But since this stream today, I've seen several of the most common, just kind of fucking bullshit equivocation that I see from fucking trolls online, man. And I want you to understand that I'm not naive and I'm not a fucking fool, and that I took a risk
Hitler
on
also
you,
drank
and
water.
I'm not going to do it
Never
again
again.
because I've seen nothing but more evidence that you probably know exactly what you're doing.
This was the conversation about trans, sex, and gender pronouns. Okay, all right, yeah.
He had to clarify because you keep being called a racist and a bigot, and that's not necessarily the same thing as talking about trans.
Is this the
and
one where
gender,
Patrick talked about his Klan rallies?
No, that was Sunday night.
Patrick, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? Like, you're a fucking moron. I'm sorry, you just are. You're catching me on the wrong day with this bullshit.
Every day is the wrong day with you, Dane.
That is the classic clip. In case you're ever wondering where this came from, this was just post that conversation. This is the next one where, you snarkily said, yeah, it's clearly not an open discussion. Because, again, you kept getting muted and blocked. But, it did bring us that banger of a clip right there.
All right? This is an open discussion that we're having. The thing that, if you want to go fucking ask absurd questions just one after the other and be a troll and literally word for word almost fucking say the same shit that all of us here have seen repeated over the last several years in fucking comment sections and tweet replies and stuff like that. There's plenty of places you can go do it, man. I've fucking shut down a lot of the ideas that you're bringing up in other content that I've made. I know other guys here too.
You understand? He has proved it wrong. Like, he's not going to show you where or tell you where or, tell you what any of the facts are, but he has. You just need to take his word for it. It was in the past. I mean, you can't see it. It's hidden now, but take it.
So go watch some of that, man. If you want to fucking kind of get up to the level of conversation that we're having.
If only you were up to the level of conversation that we were having, Patrick.
I did my homework, Dane. Thanks.
Learn something. We're not here to fucking educate you, and I'm definitely not here to let.
Listen, learn something. We're not here to educate you.
Have you learned? Repeat garbage in my fucking chat. You or anybody else. But equivocate, try and act like this is just censorship or something like that. Fuck off, man. Fuck off.
It's not censorship. Get out of here.
Sorry.
You can't talk.
There you go.
There you go.
To act like I'm censoring you is unacceptable. You're banned.
Extend some kind of fucking good faith with people, man, and then that's.
I've had moments like that before too on stream. It happens. They know exactly what they're doing. So that's the other thing I want to say. Like this whole idea of this back and forth with people that know what they're doing, right? Like in terms of being racist or being bigoted or whatever it is. They know what you're doing. Being racist. We know they're doing it. The game is they want to pretend they're not doing it and gaslight us. That's the whole game that they play.
It's so crazy.
That was the game that you were playing. You were just being racist and didn't want them to call you racist. That was the game that you were playing, Patrick. Such a weird game,
And I think that their community likes that game as well. That's one of the games they like to play as well. And so we see it quite often,
You guys heard of what's his name? Innuendo Studios?
Oh, don't bring in the Seinfeld episode.
He's got a series basically about this. It's like these types of tactics, and maybe it's just fool's luck, and Patrick is just unfortunately naively repeating a lot of the exact same shit that is said online. I doubt it, but
don't bring in the Seinfeld.
There's a video called "The Card Says Moops" that's just basically about how these kind of gaslighty type of tactics, where it's like what they're getting at, but they don't.
Crazy to think I'm a racist while I'm being racist. It's crazy. I was like,
it was crazy to think that you were being a racist while you were being racist in this conversation that you never talked about race. Wow, such good logic.
I'm not gonna even
done with that.
Oh boy.
And by the way, another piece of information about him that fed into my decision to go fuck off is that he created a whole new account just to come back here, and I don't think that.
Wait, so the reason why you're not allowed back is because you are banned and you didn't accept that, so you created a new one. So that's why he knows that you could never be back because, you didn't just accept your banning from this community and go away. So now you will never be welcomed back to the community that he banned you from and wanted you to go. I don't know. It's just it's such weird logic.
There's a quote from a movie. I can't remember it exactly, but it's basically, every once in a while you come across somebody you just shouldn't have fucked with. And
it's a great movie, actually. I wish I had that right here.
You just shouldn't have fucked with me.
Well, he found out, and he's about to. But I think we're pretty much done here. I can't remember if he has one more quote. Okay, that is it. So you know what? I would love to get your opinion on this, but let's go to the fun view right here. But do you have any kind of final thoughts on your one and only appearance on the Fandom Initiative stream, if you will?
I think that I broke Dane. Clearly, he was much more open to talking, but still in that vein, still in that fake kind of controlling everything way. But it's just It's funny to look back now at myself in that video and think about how much my opinions has changed and grown since then. And
just how much charity you gave him and did not receive, and any sort of reciprocation.
And then to look
on
back
that.
and see how much worse he's gotten, and it's like it's weird. And even like seeing Charles on there, knowing like how more about Charles now, and that he's like actually a cool guy. It's so strange to look back at those older videos. It makes me wonder if one day I'll look at like Eric and Bob and I'll be like, yeah, you know what, they weren't bad. Like maybe I just had a shit impression of them, like, or maybe I wasn't getting.
It's definitely making me wonder if I just had a really bad conversation with them, and maybe maybe I'm looking at him wrong too.
Though,
but
back.
Dane,
Dane is just he needs control over everything. He if he can't have the control, he's in a panic. God forbid you go against the narrative. God forbid you make a point that might negate his point. It's just he operates from a place of fear. He'll always operate from a place of fear. And we teased this episode for quite some time, but to be honest, like party's over. It's coming to an end.
For sure, there's going to be a big bang next week, and then it's all over.
Cake and pie.
Definitely a celebration of a season, if you will. But the season has come to a close.
We had joy, we had fun, we had seasons in the sun.
And I think we might have cracked somebody mentally, and I don't know if I have good feelings about that. So I think it's time. But considering how he dealt with you and how much charity you gave him, I don't know. I don't have many regrets. I don't think we had wrong assumptions about that guy. That being said, I am open to the possibility that we did.
Sure.
Because we definitely were wrong with Charles there. I know I personally interpreted some things incorrectly, so perhaps I did a bit of that mind reading there.
Yeah.
I hope I'm not doing that with Dane, but everything that he literally spelled out there it rubs me the wrong way, and I don't like being rubbed wrong.
Well, the problem with Dane is you don't have to do a lot of mind reading. He's telling you exactly how you should feel and how he feels about everything. So
exactly.
If someone tells you something about themselves, you should probably believe them, and that's pretty much what he does.
I think so. Yeah.
But
that's true.
He's a damaged guy.
But,
he's a damaged guy, and he's a damaged guy with a microphone, so it's like, I don't know, I don't know. I hope he gets help one day. It can't be a good way to live your life. So, I mean, the reality is, like, I went on there very naive, very open. Had they invited me back, I probably would have come back and like gone on as like a like a simple view or a normie view of things for them.
Yeah, the Chud view.
And the Chud view even, and like let them play devil's advocate, but in a healthy way, But that's not what they ever wanted, and that's not what Dane wanted. I mean, like I said, I even followed up. I sent them a nice email thanking both of them for their time. Very cordial, and it was just like, nah, dude, I called, and he even responded to one. He's like, nah, I called you a racism. What's your problem, bro? He's like, you're racist. What? It's just my opinion. Like, but it's not an opinion. You're just making shit up. Like lies aren't opinions.
That's true. Like, I don't know. It's very strange. But he also would not accept that for you. Like, if you just came on and said, like, you're a bigot, he would want you to like explain how or whatever. But he would never do that for you.
Yeah.
I could understand maybe if he said he's possibly a transphobe based off of some of the answers that he gave on this thing. Okay, that could be an opinion. Yeah. But he didn't say that. He said you're a racist. Yeah, for sure. I would not call you that, knowing your opinion on a lot of these things. But yeah, it's just not the same thing that he would do. I don't know. I can't respect this man at all. And if you watch this previous conversation, I hope you can kind of see why. He pretends like he is open for conversation, but he's not. He is open to you agreeing with him, and that's the only thing that he's open to. You also better not interrupt him, because I've heard, he really gets into that with, he doesn't like it. Perhaps you'll be reprimanded.
Time limit. He like
Yeah.
You see how angry he would get though when I would be like, well, what about this? And if he had to think for a split second, like he was like, well, you just accept it for how it is because that's how it is because I told you. And I'm like, but what? Wait, what about? No, I'm gonna have to mute you.
He already told you, sir. You should just know.
I told you that because just places to find it. Okay.
Well, this chapter has come to a close, which is kind of nice, and I'm really looking forward to next week. I think it's going to go out in a bang, if you will, and we will hope that everybody is looking forward to that. But yeah, it's kind of nice finally going back to this origin. Yeah. We've been teasing it for a while, so I'm glad we finally did this, but I'm really glad to be out of that same headspace. Yeah. It's not good for your health. Like we kind of jokingly admitted, it is kind of like a weird pressure that gets put on you having to listen to everything that guy says. And I'm looking forward to not doing that.
Yeah,
so,
fuck that guy.
Yeah.